Getting it together. Okay.
What's
Guys,
up, Bill?
we're on live, and everybody's coming in, getting their microphones set and cameras and all that. I'm Khaliq Glover, also known as Khaliq-O-Vision, and I want to welcome you to another music mixing success. Well, actually, just music success, because it's all about everything. It ain't just mixing, y'all. A lot of ways, a lot of roads lead to Rome, and we're going to be talking about a lot of different things today. As I want to talk and share some wins and breakthroughs that each of us have, getting to that next level, revelations, anything like that, and share a few things that are helpful that we may have come across out here. It's all about helping you get to the next level of success in your music career, whether you're doing it completely as a just kind of a side hobby, and you're just doing your regular job thing, and it's like, I love music, so I want to do this. We got you from there, because we'll help you make it more enjoyable. Or if this is absolutely your career and profession, we got all the heavy hitters and everything in between, from people doing it from all areas and angles. This is for you, and this is why we do this. We all get together and just share what we can to help everybody have a smoother path. And welcome everybody here. We haven't been on for a little while because it's been crazy for me. I've been doing a lot of different stuff, so I'm juggling a lot of stuff right now. But I never want to let too much time go by between when we do these hangouts, because I love it. You're my boys, and us hanging out together, getting together with the musical family. What's going on, everybody? Joseph, I ain't seen you in a while, so I'm glad you're back on.
Absolutely, it has been a while. Everybody, you're all looking good, and yeah, I'm glad we're all able to get together today, man. It's a good day.
Yeah.
And I haven't seen y'all this year, man, except once maybe. I'm not sure.
Yeah, and I'm still the newlywed life is always cool, but that's just an ongoing thing. It's like we are 4 months in now, so it's cool.
Hey, man, I feel more newlywed today than I did 5 years ago.
Isn't that a wonderful thing, man?
It really is, man. It is. I have a better relationship today than I ever really. If I would have had to write it down 11 years ago when my wife and I got together, I wouldn't have wrote down what I am feeling today.
Right.
I would have had no. There you go, babe. I would have had no idea how cool it can be. I just didn't know.
Yeah, absolutely. And the good thing is you get to know more about yourself too, because for me,
yeah,
this is my second marriage now that I'm on, but I'm one of those long time guys in there. My first marriage, I was married for 32, 33 years, I think it was. So you get to be a better person as you learn how to deal with another person, be sensitive to their feelings, and realizing the world that you live in is not always going to look exactly like the world that they live in, as far as in your head and in your heart. But as you get more experience and everything, you learn to appreciate the other person more, and you learn to appreciate that, okay, I want to adjust myself to make this happen, because a lot of times it's just simply trying to force somebody to your way of thinking, when it's like, well, wait a minute, we both want the same thing. They're just thinking about it a little differently. So let me get off of my thing and see how can we come together where it works for both of us. And that's what I think I'm learning more on this time around compared to maybe the first time around. And I really appreciate their feelings. My wife is a wonderful person, and so I appreciate and go the extra mile of saying, let me look at the situation rather than trying to be my way or the highway type of guy.
Right. Well, I really relate to that. In my 20s and 30s, early 30s, I was pretty much a highway, my way or the highway guy, type A, really, type A to the point where I would come off as probably selfish, because I had a lot of dedication to my process, and that I'm sure that came across as very selfish at times to my significant other. This is not my first marriage either, And I agree with you, Khaliq. I've learned that lesson, that looking through the eyes of my spouse is very important to me, and accommodating her feelings and needs and trying to understand that is very important to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Absolutely. It's made me grow as a person, and you know, and that carries right over into my work.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I'm going to
You
bend
know,
over backwards for a client. I'm not going to come home and tell my wife, you know, treat her worse than I am one of my clients, right?
yeah, that's a
Yeah,
great point because sometimes we can do that and
sure.
go more, more out on the limb for somebody that's a stranger as opposed to somebody that's the closest person to you. So we got to always
Yes.
remind ourselves that,
I always felt that to be somewhat of a phenomena that I could
Mm,
listen to my neighbors argue and they're in love. And I've never heard two people in love explain it in such a explicit fashion. You know what I mean? In other words, I mean they're really cutting each other down. And I
yeah.
never really could understand that. Like how is it so easy for the closest person next to you to be the first person you could kick, you know?
Cut
And
you the deepest. Yeah.
oh, big time, yeah, yeah. And
Yeah. Yeah.
so I don't go there anymore, man. I keep it.
No.
I
Yeah.
keep it very peaceful and very sensitive, you know.
That's good.
That's
And
good.
then here's the other good thing too, because for what we do in the music industry and being successful
Hmm.
in general, it's more about being successful in life. That's a big thing as far as
Hmm.
learning the lessons when we create music and we're creating it for others or making it touch others. It's how we have to get into their mindset, their feelings. So like when I'm mixing, for example, you know, if I mix for me for what I know now, it, I would probably always try to make everything super audiophile and super technically correct and everything because I have a lot of different things that I've learned over the years, and you want to utilize all that. But the balance that I've learned, like kind of doing a marriage or relationships with your friends and family or the world, is that you can't always put what you know in there. You can't always mention it. You can't always show it and push it in somebody's face because sometimes, like I mean, the biggest lesson I learned is when I deal with some guys that were doing hip hop, and the first time I started trying to show them how to make their stuff sound sonically better, but they hated how it felt. So they explained to me, okay, it might not be technically correct, colleague, but here's how I want it to sound and feel. That maybe it ain't technically correct to turn up 18 dB at the low end, but this is what's getting me the sound I'm hearing in my head. So can you please do it? Because I like what I'm hearing, and then I had to learn to
Right.
get off of that one, and just
Hmm.
okay, and then being honest is like when I gave it a chance, when I stayed open. Like at a time when I didn't know something and just tried it and I stayed open, then I'm like, oh, you know what? I see what they're going for now. So it may not technically be turning up 18 dB of 60 hertz. They just want to feel that low end. So maybe it's
Hmm.
something as simple as what I was trying to do to make it sound cleaner, but it feels like that. So it's something as simple as getting less of a dB and turning up the bass. Accomplishes the same thing, fills it out, rounds it out. You just
Hmm.
never know what it's going to be, but you got to be willing to do these things, just like you in relationships. I believe all that teaches us a lot of stuff. It's funny too. Me and Dave have conversations all the time about like Dave always says, and he's a very big proponent of making people realize that this is a business of relationships. And so the relationships extend beyond one-on-one, face-to-face. The relationships are when somebody's putting on your stuff, you're establishing a sonic relationship with them, you know. And so you have to make sure that you have considered them in the conversation. They're listening, and it's really, listening seems to be passive, but it really, from the creation process back and forth to somebody that's listening, even though you're not in the same real time anymore, it's still a conversation going on that you've got to consider how they are hearing your conversation. That's a big key.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that is a real big key. What I say and what you hear, if that doesn't match, then we got a big. It'll end up becoming a really big problem. You got it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fantastic.
If you're making your music or whatever, you'll be the only one enjoying it because it won't touch anybody else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and one other thing too is that goes to what you were saying before is that you can be on a quest to be so technically right that you lose out on the beauty of the whole tune because you're concentrating on this one section that you think should be a certain way or something. And in a relationship, it's the same way. You know, do you want to be right all the time, or do you want to be alone? That's
Yeah, right.
That's the question you got to ask yourself. Like in a relationship, you can want to be right all the time, but you're probably going to end up being alone.
Yeah.
And so same thing when you're doing somebody else's stuff. Do you want to be right for being book correct because you feel like you want to be technically proficient, or you want to open your ears and listen to what they're doing and what they're saying and where they're coming from, and be it just what's needed? And sometimes that's where we always find the door called less is more.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's where we always find the door called less is more, because we end up saying that, okay, cool, what I was really looking for was a nuance, which is, we'll call a nuance somewhere between what they really were envisioning and what we precisely know is there.
Right.
And we find that acceptable level, and that's the nuance. That's where you massage it to. But a lot of times we're so strict, and the business kind of promotes that at times. It promotes the one-upsmanship of I'm the best, I'm the best EQer, I'm the best strip silencer, I'm the best beat detective, I'm the quickest, the fastest, and,
Yeah.
if songs were indeed that, and we had streaming channels that were dedicated to nothing but beat detective, then maybe that would have relevance, but it doesn't. But what ends up happening is that when somebody gets proficiency, that's their badge, and they want to wear it and extend it. And we all want to get good at this, but it takes time. It takes time to kind of learn people, learn yourself, and what you were talking about, Joseph, before, learn to adjust. Before the call started, Joseph and I were talking about making adjustments, and I was pointing out to them that many times people will buy a new piece of gear or several new pieces of gear, and they will feel that the cost of the gear means that they could just hook it up and not really go back to fine-tune listening or calibrating anything, because this gear is a little bit better than the last piece of gear they had.
Yeah.
And then we slowly go, you know what? I still gotta probably check my levels between my second set of speakers and my first set. You know what? Let me check my VUs, make sure they're on. But a lot of times those little things of just not really listening for your own little personal characteristics that you like in your room and on your gear, by the time you step outside of your studio and go to someone else's, you'll start to hear big differences.
Oh,
Yeah.
So, it's the nuances. It's those little details that are important, and the little adjustments that you make that allow you to go from your laboratory, nowadays, to somebody else's little laboratory and do experiments. Because that's basically what we're doing.
Yeah,
when you visit somebody else's room with their DAW, you're now in their laboratory.
Yeah.
And you don't know. You don't know that they got two different size speaker wires for the left side and the right side. All these things happen, man. I go in a lot of studios and I take a lot of them apart because we're trying to figure out what's going on. And with the mystery meat that we find is sometimes it doesn't seem like it's important or make a difference, but it will make a difference. And it all is a thing of taking your time and understanding what you're trying to do. You're trying to make all this stuff work consistently so that you can now use your predictive analytics to make the right decision for your client. So you really want to just take time and massage these little areas. I didn't mean to get all, out on you. I haven't been here for a little while, so I get to be chatty Cathy.
No.
That's cool.
It's all good.
I've been in a mode. I'm writing the script for the next show, so I've been in this mode where I haven't been around people, so I don't go around people a lot.
Yeah.
I know. Speaking of that, Dave, we're gonna talk about that in a little while too, because I want people to know. Those of you know that David has his show, the Everything Audio Show, is coming up again, so we're gonna get into that in a little bit. But right now, let's move on to we got Bill and Brad on here, and anybody else, if you guys want to come in, this is an open forum. Today is like our doors are open. Come on and join us. The link is on, if you're on Pensado students right now in the Hangout section, the link is there, and Bill has been posting some stuff. Come on in and join us and tell us. What I want to talk basically is get to, everybody's been working and getting in the trenches on doing some little behind the scenes things. A lot of different little wins have been happening, like for myself and Dave and all of us. So I want to talk about maybe a few of these things. What's been some good wins that have been coming through, things that you want to share with some of the people to encourage others, and share share what's going on. So let's talk to Bill because we haven't heard from him. Bill, is your mic back?
I should be on.
You're on now. We got you.
What's up, fellas? How's everybody doing?
Hey, man, good. Good to see you.
Sweet. As far as what kinds of topics are we?
Well, anything, you've been up to some stuff, and like, we're all trying to get into the place of just keep the winning curve going upwards, not necessarily plateauing and going straight. We want it on the upward thing. So share with us any things that have been leading you towards where you've been trying to go, wins. Give us your Charlie Sheen.
Cool. Yeah, winning. And we see Neil Hester just join us. What's up, Neil? How's everything?
Hey.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
But
That was a nice article you wrote the other day, Bill.
thanks. Basically, what the article was about is kind of the same thing that Khaliq's talking about, which is wins, which is that sometimes you can't really go forward to get to your next win. Sometimes you've really loaded up your plate so much that you can move forward, but if you move forward, you'll move very slowly. But if you reassess and you figure out some things that you can either temporarily or permanently delete, then you can move forward a lot faster. And the benefit of that is the faster that you move forward, the more that you can bring to the table next time you reemerge.
Yep. Give us an example of something of that maybe you've been implementing.
Well, for instance, okay, one thing, Khaliq, is that there's a lot that goes on online, and online can eat up more of your time than you expected it to, because you end up in discussions you didn't intend to have. Like, you might just want to say, hey, the grass is green, and leave it there. But then somebody wants to come in and say, well, yeah, except for when you don't water and the grass is brown. And then now you've got to get back in the conversation. And then somebody else says, oh, well, but they have AstroTurf on this particular place and it's blue.
Yeah, right.
And you're like, well, no, that's not grass. Actually, that's fake grass, blah, 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 blah. So what you intended to get online and say something for the 2 minutes it took you to think it up and type it, and maybe one more minute to see if anybody said something, it can take you half an hour, 45 minutes. See what I'm saying? And that's just one topic. So if every topic you have expands like that, there goes your whole day.
Yeah.
See what I'm saying? So one of the I'm a fan of paying attention to micro things. One of the videos I saw a long time ago, this guy, Robert Scoble, was interviewing this guy, Jason Calacanis, and he was talking about how he had bought second monitors for his workers, which would seem to be an expense. That would seem to be a loss. But what he had figured out was that his workers, when they had one screen, were switching windows a lot on that screen. They might have the screen where they program, then they got the screen where they're text chatting. I mean, not necessarily it could be business text chatting, but I mean, there's a screen for programming, screen for text chatting, screen for email, screen for something else. So there are all these screens that they have to switch between. And taking the time to switch between screens, even though that seems to be just a split second, if you add up all those split seconds of switching, it's actually better to give them a second screen where they can have some things on this other screen and leave up their programming screen, or maybe split that one screen between programming and business text chatting, and the other screen is for email and other stuff. And that increased the productivity of his workers. So instead of it being a loss, I just bought a whole bunch of monitors for people that already had monitors. It was a win because every single one of his workers that he did that for became more productive.
Yeah, and hey, Bill, a perfect analogy of that is Pro Tools with the the mixer versus the editor window.
Uh-huh.
When you start out, most people start out and have one monitor. But as soon as you go to two monitors and put each of those windows on a separate monitor, your productivity goes up. It's pretty much the same thing, right?
Yes, exactly. And it's the same thing if you buy it doesn't necessarily have to be a bigger monitor, but if you buy a monitor with higher resolution. Because if
Mm-hmm.
you have a monitor with higher resolution, you can still have your Pro Tools looking however you want it to look, but then you might have extra windows on the side where
All
you
right.
don't have to switch out.
Get access to immediately. It's just a quick thing as opposed to switching and going through all that and waiting for it to pop up. Yeah,
Right.
definitely.
And another thing is like if let's say you do have your email active for some reason, like you keep your email window open so it keeps dinging you when you get emails. Then if you have a section of your screen or you have a second screen devoted to my email is always up, as soon as that ding goes off, you just look where that is. If it's something inconsequential, you just look back where you were. You don't have
Yep.
to wonder, hey, what was that? Now let me switch it. Now let me figure out the right key command to switch it. Now,
Mm-hmm.
once I do that, oh, wait, no, that's nothing. Now let me go back. Now, what was I doing?
Yeah, you lost all that
You
little
know?
bit of time. Yeah,
Yeah,
it adds
so
up.
that's, yeah, so it's stuff like that. But the overall point is that a lot of times you can't, well, not a lot of times, but for people who are progressive, there are a lot of people who aren't progressive, and there's nothing wrong with that. There are a lot of people who just, they enjoy, Sunday they wash their car, Saturday they watch baseball, whatever they do, and they're good with that the whole time. But there are
Uh-huh.
other people who want to do consistently more. And in order to do consistently more, sometimes you can paint yourself into a corner where, in order to do more than you're currently doing, if you try to keep moving forward, now instead of doing 8 things, you're doing 9 things. You might want to subtract and go down to doing 6 or 5 things so that the things that you bring back to get back up to 8 are more efficient. Or you have time to research and study new things and bring more to the table next time you're ready to get back in action.
Now, with that revelation, what have you done, say, over the last few weeks that have helped you get to that as well? Chopping some things out that help you use your time more efficiently and get more towards where you want to go instead of going down any rabbit holes. Give some folks some examples.
Well, for myself, I chopped almost everything out because I at this point, well, okay, at this point, my question is where relevance, uh, where relevance is going to exist in the near future. What I mean by that, and it's a
Mhm.
discussion I had several times with Dave, is that uh, previously people had to actually be talented in order to be relevant.
Mhm.
Then they came up with social media. So you could be a social media person where you're actually a pundit. You don't actually know anything. You can't actually do anything, but you can talk about what other people are doing and you can
Mhm.
become relevant. Or you can put up pictures of yourself or your city or whatever every day and become relevant. So
Mhm.
the question is at this point, as this is shifting, where is this going? And because what's happening is, like, for instance, the people that I talk to at this point, especially the people that have kids, all of their kids are consuming all of their content off of notepads, off of iPads or whatever the Windows
Mhm.
one is called or whatever. They're not getting it off of television. Most of the
Right.
people that I know don't subscribe to cable television.
Mhm.
In fact, HBO just separated themselves from cable television. Like, we knew it was coming down the line, but it finally happened. They just separated themselves from cable television. So you can buy HBO by itself without even
Mhm.
having cable, and you can get it on your tablet or whatever.
Right.
So then the question is, well, what are they doing on these notepads? So then, I mean, and the reason I bring stuff like this up is because if you look at the music industry, for instance, there's a reason why people don't buy music now. One of the reasons is, all the, LimeWire and Napster and all that stuff. That's all well and good. But the other reason is that people at this point, younger people, have grown up having never gone to a record store ever.
Right. Mm-hmm.
They've grown up watching free YouTube videos. They just have to sit through a few seconds of a commercial now and then. Um, they the music on Bandcamp is free. Um even if you pay for it on something like Spotify, you're paying $10 for the whole month, which is basically if you went to the store and bought one CD or one album
Mm-hmm.
every month, every 30 days, you just buy one album and you can listen to all the music that was basically ever created in
Mm-hmm.
good quality.
Yep.
So the people that you're trying to sell music to, who are the younger people who are now becoming the consumers, or at least their parents are buying the music for them, they did not grow up with buying records. They did not grow up with supporting artists. They came up with either free music or very low cost music. So that's going to be a tough road to hoe. So that's one of the reasons why I'm talking about this now, is that just the way that went out the window, other things are going to go out the window. So now, for instance, we have what they call esports. I don't consider it a sport myself, but playing video games. Playing video games like Call of Duty, um, Battlefield. I got my controllers right here. I got my PS4 controller right here. I got
There
my
you go.
Xbox.
All right.
I got my Xbox controller right here. You
There
know.
you go.
Now the thing is, right? There are a lot of kids now that can tell you who the top people are in Call of Duty.
Mm-hmm.
And those same kids cannot tell you anything about sports because nobody cares.
All right.
Nobody's watching the sports. Nobody is, nobody has television to be watching whatever Channel 4 presents the NFL or any of that. Nobody cares. So what I'm saying is the location of relevance is shifting. These same people, they probably can't tell you who certain movie stars are because
Exactly.
they don't watch movies. I mean, unless it's on Netflix, which is whatever $10 a month, just like Spotify is. But the point is, they don't really go to movies. And if they do, a movie like a feature length movie is basically 90 minutes. That's basically the qualification for a feature length film. So they could spend 90 minutes just catching up with their latest YouTube subscriptions. So, you watch 10 minutes of this person, 10 minutes of that person, half an hour of that person. It all adds up. You've watched a whole movie for free. And these are the people that are now relevant to you. These are the people who are now being discussed by you and other people. And then the relevance of that to us is that that's where you're going to find people that need music done for them. That's where you're going to find people that need video editing. That's where you're going to find people that need, certain things. Because even if you're streaming, you still have to deal with the um, the copyright issues.
Absolutely.
So like for instance, in Battlefield, you can get in a car, and Battlefield has uh, licensed certain actual songs to play on the radio when you're in a car. So you
Mm-hmm.
get in the car and you're listening to a song by Q-Tip, for instance, right? So you're riding down the street, blah blah blah. But then what happens when you take that video and you put it online on your YouTube channel, and then YouTube detects Q-Tip's song in your video, which is actually a video game.
Yeah, exactly. And then they
So
call infringement.
yeah, then it's infringement. So, but there's actually a parameter that says, do you or do you not want the radio to turn on in the car?
Mm-hmm.
See? So you can actually turn that off. So I guess to everybody else, they're hearing the songs. To you, you're not hearing the songs. And on your video, which you're going to upload to YouTube, or maybe you're streaming it live to YouTube to begin with. But anyway, when your video gets to YouTube, that licensed music is not in it because you
Right.
changed that parameter ahead of time.
Yep.
So that's
Yeah.
to wrap it up. That's what my recent focus has been, is where is relevance going? Where is attention going? You know, there's a reason why people are focusing on Instagram, where all you're seeing is like a picture of something going on. You know, it's just a picture. It's not a blog post. It's not ideas. I mean, it is like you can write some stuff under it. Most people don't. But, you know, why are they going there? On Instagram, you can put, I believe, 15-second videos. On Vine, you can put 6-second videos.
6 seconds, yeah.
Yeah, you know,
And then you
why
got
are those?
Periscope now, Periscope on Twitter and some of the other, yeah. So it's where is it going? That's a very relevant way
Yeah.
to.
And why are those so popular, as opposed to, you know, is somebody going to watch a reality show for half an hour on cable television that they don't need to buy anymore because they've got a phone, which they're already paying for unlimited service, and they can get anything they want on their phone with headphones that give them good quality audio.
Yep.
You know, and that's relevant to us because we have to figure out, you know, if there's a Titanic and it's sinking, how do we get on the lifeboat?
Yep. That's true. That's true. It's the same. That's the same thing that me and Dave went through years ago. When, you know, you have to look at. Wait a minute. What's coming up is what do we need to focus on as being relevant on the horizon, as opposed to where we were now at that time, or else we're going to get swallowed up. A lot of people ain't paying attention, but you better pay attention on that. And we're gonna, Dave, I want you to chime in on that for a hot second, but then after that, Neil, I see you're on here, and I want you to chime in on some of this stuff. So get ready, okay, buddy?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dave.
One thing I wanted to say is that, you know, and Bill and I get into some heavy conversations about this because one of the things is you got to realize that the models built today are reactive models. In other words, YouTube, some of these other things, they're all reactive models. They're built to get a response from the viewer. That response is either in call to action, click through to a sale, to a you know, make subscription, or it's to participate in some kind of way. I believe that the internet has created basically a side pool of activity. Some of it relevant because the analytics you can get from it is very relevant. Some of it is very misleading because what it leads to is a postulation, and excuse all these big words, but these are the only ones I can kind of use to kind of sum up what's going on. They kind of lead you down the road to what I call phony stocks. Okay? You could get so many reactions from somebody and so many this from that, and then at a certain point you'll be in a meeting discussing analytics rather than in a meeting discussing actual things and theories and interactions that will help people before you can even get to interact in our industry. And that's what's going on now. We have a lot of layers we have to cut through of division that have occurred because of the analytics. We've got so much analytics that is collected between YouTube, Facebook, MySpace, whatever else, that our whole industry could sit and look at all of these challenging numbers and come up with a direction to work in, and it would still be wrong. Right? Because you can't rely totally on the math. Again, this is that same point that we started with. There are some times when you have to back it up and you have to go, what is this situation I'm dealing with? And in our business, we deal with songs. A great song is a great song, and you cannot stop it. You cannot count it. You cannot analyze it. You cannot overanalyze it. You cannot try and put it in a direction if it doesn't want to go, because a great song is a very powerful thing. It'll attach itself to the right thing at the right time, and it will prove you and your math wrong. And so we have an industry, though, that the monetization aspect of it has been taken over by speculators. Right? That's what Wall Street is, speculation. So they want to be able to speculate on what something's going to do, And a perfect example is what we're going through in the streaming world. And if you guys follow what I do, a lot of the times I've been putting up a lot of things that have to do with this streaming question, not just what's happening with the Jay-Z acquisition, but what's happening with everybody. And the reason being is that there's two things going on. There's the streaming question, which sometimes is a distraction. And then there's the real music question, which isn't getting looked at. That's why the last couple posts I posted you a guy in Africa who made his own guitar, and he's just sitting in the middle of a dirt road just getting off, right? Because he ain't worried about a streaming service. He don't know nothing about a streaming service. He got a ratty can, a stick, and a string, and he made a guitar, and you know what? He made it all the way to my living room on my laptop. Do you think he started out worried about a streaming service? No. He just wanted somebody to get down, right? So at the heart of it is the love of music. At the heart of it is the love of music. That's a pretty powerful thing if you play to it. If you choose not to play to it, this is not a total math formula. This business was based on great songs. You cannot go against what we need. Is great songs will help the business continue. Live performance is what will be promoted and will be the birthplace of great songs and great artists. It is just a natural progression. So the more we tend to look towards a lot of these things that the internet is the setup for, and Bill, when you show all your controllers and your stuff, this is like the perfect symbolism for what Khaliq and I always say. It's like you're in your bubble, right? You got all your control panels and stuff, and I love it because you're a bubble child. That's and right. It's good. It's good that we have a bubble child that we can say, oh, okay, let's go to Bubble Boy and see what the view is, because you're in this environment where you're figuring out functionality within the bubble, which is where a lot of people actually exist, and it's a bigger and bigger crop of people. So we as old folks have to understand life in the bubble. We have to understand the bubble decision-making mentality in order to make what we know relevant to the people who are trying to come down the line and create something new. Yeah, they could create something without us, but chances are it might not be as dynamic because the bubble has limitations. That's the whole essence of being in the bubble or the box or whatever you want to call it. It has limitations, and the limitations is that there is a certain point at where it stops and you are surrounded. You can go no further, right? And so everybody else out in analog land and out in Oldville, we have all these memories that are there, but then they take on new form when we see the new young artists and the new young people who are creatives trying to do their thing. We recognize old things and we see some new things, and it actually helps us come up with ideas too. So I think I say all that just to say that don't get caught in the web of trying to figure it all out, because I think what happens is that we have a push-button lifestyle with these handhelds, and we think everything is as easy as an app. Success is not as easy as an app. It's still going to take some work at the grassroots level. It's still going to take you doing relationships with people you can trust. It's still going to take some of those things that you have to do away from the technology, and you have to lock it down. And that's, I think, the hardest part is that the more and more we try and get everything else down to an app, a button, a this, a that, there is still a big ocean you got to cross called got to do some business. And when you got to do some business, it's got to be real. You can't totally propel yourself from oblivion in your closet doing your beats to the top of the mountain without engaging in real-time people relationships. You still have to do some of that. You still have to do some. Even if it's going to be over Skype or whatever, you're still going to have to do it. You're going to have to back up off the control, put the paddle down, and trust that you've got some good sense to kind of discern what's happening across the table from somebody. And I believe you me, I think that the industry and some of the people in it, I think they would love to make you think that we can automate this game so that you never have to have a personal encounter. Because I'll tell you what goes on. When you have personal relationships with people, there's a thing called accountability. If you remove accountability from any setting, you're about to create I won't even call it the Wild Wild West, because that's calling it light. You're about to create downright war, okay? Because personal accountability is what's at the heart of a lot of things that are successful. It comes down to some people who are power brokers at the very core of it who go, I agree, let's do this. And then everybody else falls in around. Soldiers, whoever, and it works. Personal accountability needs to be there still. And we don't have an app for personal accountability. We don't have an app for trust. We don't have, wish we did, you know, but your TRW is just shows your credit rating. It don't show your trustworthiness. It doesn't show your reliability. It doesn't, you know, so they got to come up with some other things. Just like we got Equifax that follows us all around, we need to have some other things that follow us all around in the digital realm if they want to try and do business in the next level, you know, because that's what's really going on. You got to really be able to give yourself over to people who are going to honor your time and honor your commitments, you know, we're there with some of the stuff. We're certainly putting together some tracking stuff. The next show I'm working on, we're going to have a bunch of things that you guys are going to see and hear that'll help you focus on what to look at. But we still got a ways to go, and I think it's really about everybody getting that skill set of personal relationship skills, being able to propel something from even an internet relationship to a real-time thing, or where you're engaging in something to where everybody is a community. At some point, it's community-based. You know, you look at any hit music that made a mark in history, there was a community of people around it. And we are here talking about creating content, and some of it music, some of it other stuff, but there's always a community. It's going to come back to a community of dedicated people around it that made it happen. And then in that making it happen was what? Everybody was in agreement. And they had a personal level of responsibility. So, you know, I hate to keep beating the same dead horse, but that is where it's at. But I, you know, Bill and I talk about this a lot because I see a lot of stuff, and I go to a lot of sites and I just observe, and I'm like, wow, people are really invested in certain aspects of this, but they don't back up and look at it from the hillside. When you invest in just the one part, the engagement, you're not seeing the other things that go on. There's so much to learn when you just go to a website, watch a show, and listen to the contents, or listen to the messaging that's going on. Look at what they're asking you to do. What's the call to action? You can learn so much as a content creator from watching other people present what they're doing, even if you're not into the subject. Even if you're not into the subject. I've learned so much about marketing. I remember Khaliq gave me a disc. I think I still have it. He always goes, I want it back. He gave me a disc about marketing, right? I put this thing in, I would be driving, I'm like, oh, that's a great idea. Oh, that's a great idea. I got about 4 great ideas off the disc, and then I tried it. They all worked. They all worked, right? But it's one of those things where it's like wow, I had to take the time to analyze the information, adapt it for what I was doing, and it actually worked. You know, but it's, again, community. He gave me this disc and said, hey, man, check this out. That's community, right? That's community. People just saying, hey, man, check this out. He didn't know what I was going to check out. He just told me to do what I did. Put it in my car, play it, see if it's got something on it I can use. That's community, right? And that's what I'm talking about. There's certain things that we can do, and that's part of what these calls are all about, to advance everybody along at such a rate where they're not going to get left behind. You know, that's really what we do this for, because we don't want to see anybody left behind. We don't want to see anybody miss it. And believe you me, there's a lot of things that are vying for your attention that are going to make you miss it unless you stay focused. You know.
Sorry, yeah. Hey, and hey, Neil, why don't you unmute your microphone and let's have you chime in on this.
Sure. You hear me?
What's going on, man? Hey, haven't seen you in a while. How you been?
Yeah, been good, thanks. I've kind of almost been doing like Bill said, you know, withdraw a little bit and work out some things to move forward with. So yeah, I haven't been around for a while. I think the last time I saw you was perhaps the pre-Grammy thing that we did, maybe.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I've kind of ducked out a little bit too, and I completely agree with what Bill's been saying and what Dave's been saying about the whole, especially the bubble thing. What Dave was saying about the bubble. Like we've all got these bubbles, whether we realize it or not, like us guys, whether we're, in the Pensado students group or something else, whether you're a guy that likes to, I don't know, that's a fan of a band and there's that little bubble around the band that are the core fans, whether you're a football player and you have a team, all these little bubbles, and sometimes even some that are quite close by and quite relevant to each other don't ever meet up, and then maybe one day you'll get into conversation with somebody, or you'll find yourself in amongst one of those groups and you'll go, wow, this is really quite a hard and dedicated group of people. I mean, I'm sure people that have never been into the Pensado students group, maybe that are long time audio engineers, like for years, and then they find that group and they'll look at it and go, oh my God, this is a huge community. How did I never see this? And I think that's kind of one of those things where we've all got these little bubbles. There must be loads of places that we have no idea about, and loads of little markets that are waiting to be tapped into by our own little ideas. And it's about spreading yourself out and finding those. And I agree again about the whole step back and look at the wider picture. Sometimes we get so deeply invested in our own little bubble that we think that that's all there is in the world. We never leave our own little island. I total agreement with what the guys have said before, and I think it's really important. And I've sort of removed myself from a few bubbles, and I think I'm gonna do more of it. I sort of got to the point this week of I sort of realized that putting posts to provoke conversation, and I don't mean provoke argument, I mean to start a conversation and see people's opinions and things, it's starting to annoy me because of the amount of just rubbish that comes in. And so I'm going to detach myself from that because I can't handle it anymore. You ask a perfectly simple question, or you propose a perfectly simple subject matter, and it's just ruined in minutes. And I just think, why do I bother? I need to step away from that as well. So, and I think, some things like what you do yourself, Khaliq, you put yourself out there, but you produce some content, or you do something and you put it out there for people to digest. And it's not even necessarily with the kind of the aim to have somebody comment on it as such, but maybe just to absorb what it is you're doing, and you're giving out some information, and people can take that information, take it like a user manual, use it to progress. Whereas I think in some of these groups, you put something forward and then you get flamed down because you're starting a conversation. Whereas if you present some content and just let people do what they will with it and then step away, you don't even have to comment. You just put your content out there, step away. If people want to have a good old a mad chat about it, let them. But you've put something there that's useful to people, and I think that's probably a great way to deal with social media at the moment because of these kind of
Quick question: are you married?
Yeah.
So we started this conversation out today. Me and Joseph started talking about marriage and learning
dealing with
about
people.
Dealing with people and learning about yourself and everything, learning what battles to fight and all that. So it's kind of a lot like that. It kind of goes back to that, because you got to learn, you got to know that first of all, some people just wake up on the wrong side of the bed, and sometimes you do too. I might get in. I've done it before where I've got in and posted something because I saw something I didn't like and it got under my skin, and my mood wasn't that clear that day, and then I just realized, oh shit, why did I say that? Because it just started something that I don't want this to drag into a whole nother thing. It ain't that deep, but now it's turned that deep. So it's kind of the same thing with marriage. You just wake up one day, you or your wife says this one little thing that takes you all down this whole dark side, and it's like, okay, I know better now. I've been at it enough to know better.
Yeah, I think you're right. You know, personal relationships. You know, luckily enough, usually something like marriage, you kind of get to know the person pretty well first, so you've got a pretty good grounding. When you put yourself out there in social media land, you have no idea what's coming because
Yeah.
it could be anybody, and some people really do make it their mission in life just to shoot everything down they possibly can, and it's kind of like one of those. I think what the phrase is, but you know, put people down to make yourself feel better, kind of thing. Some people are stuck in that
Well,
frame of mind.
I know the perfect phrase. Dave's gonna crack up. They're not
Go
at
on.
my level.
Say again, sorry.
They're not at my level.
Yeah, yeah. Oh,
You
yeah.
know,
Oh my
a
God.
whole lot of
That-
people get that they're not at my level type of
sure.
mentality.
Yeah. Next level
Oh my
thinking.
gosh.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Thought you'd like that.
Yeah. It's but
Yeah.
sorry, Dave.
He just made a comment that, you know, I hear people all the time. I have the luxury of having conversations with a lot of people. Some famous in our world, some infamous. And some are just who they are. Sometimes people are so comfortable at their level of operational arrogance that they make comments like that.
Yeah.
And when they
And the
do,
bubble.
when they do, yeah, well, they're in their own bubble. They're
Yeah.
not in their own bubble. They're in their own stratosphere, because some of them refer to themselves in the third person.
Oh yeah.
So, but it's just pretty amazing to me when I'm having these conversations that they're so comfortable that they slip into that and they say that, because it's telling when somebody, oh, they're not my level.
Mhm.
All of a sudden I'm like, oh my gosh. We now have levels. We now have levels. As if audio didn't have enough problems, we now have levels that people can be at to which they're not at yours.
No.
So it's very telling, and sometimes you'll see that, you'll feel it in different people. You know, they'll come across and say, oh, you know, I just really am. I don't want anybody to think like this. You know, and they actually do. You know. It's almost like the typical phrase people say, and I'm just using this as an example. When people go, I'm not a racist, right?
Yeah, the precursor to
Yeah, pretty much, yeah, you are when you got to make a declaration like that.
Yeah.
You know? And so you know, it's some basic Freudian things going on, and so you got to just kind of back up. I mean, this business, as any business, breeds all kind of intense sycophants, and so you know, you just that was a trigger word there, Khaliq.
I thought you liked that.
I mean, but yeah, Neil. Yeah, the bubble.
But you know, a lot of that has to do with, like before, Dave, you were saying about you know, sooner or later you have to do the one-on-one personal thing, and you have to talk to people face to face. And you know, most of the time, I think that kind of behavior is down to social skills, and a lot of the people that are being that way don't actually possess human social skills, because they are locked in that room on the internet all day every day, and they think they can be like that. And people that are like that in person, face to face, are the ones that probably don't actually have any real interactions with people, because they got too used to acting that way online.
Yeah, and it's also the luxury of you. You know, in our business, you know, to be working consistently is definitely a view. And so, you know, when people can work consistently, and let alone they have a couple of hits, sometimes it gives them a skewed view of reality, because everybody's reality is not necessarily a full workload. And so that might give them a certain level of comfort where they feel like, yeah, I'm definitely at this level, and you know, and I get it, but I think the danger is when you verbally say something, you pretty much earmark all that as your territory. You know, the things that you say are powerful, and they follow you. The internet is a magnifier for the level of stupidity that you live at, and that's all. That's all. So So when I say something on the internet, that's a reflection of my brain on parade in front of everybody. And I think that's one of the challenging things about this bubble in particular, is that it challenges everybody to think about what you say, to weigh the value of your argument or your opinion and all those things. Like I said, do you want to be right or do you want to be alone? And that one question will help you tone down your passion. It will help you kind of get your words together. It will kind of help you figure out, and this is something that Bill hit me to early on, that your engagement and how you're perceived on the internet is totally on you. Every time you come on, I mean, even me, like if I choose to come on in my kitchen, I got a bunch of people who say, man, he came on in his kitchen, it looked crazy like a mug, right? But that's a choice I made to do that because I feel comfortable enough with everybody to say, you know what, I got to cook some stuff with my daughter. Let me cook and listen to the show and do this, and everybody's cool with it. But, you know, there's also people who will draw a conclusion because I'm not necessarily like Neil behind a bunch of keyboards, right? Or I'm not, you know, I'm not somewhere in the studio with monitors blazing. You know, I think all these images and these things that people put forth, it's a lot of work. But on the real time, y'all still got to fix stuff to eat too. So you know, sometime you might be in your kitchen. I don't know. You know.
Dave, wait. Do you use the bathroom?
Yeah. Just don't hang out from the bathroom, bro.
I mean,
man,
wait.
Yeah.
You're like a movie star, man. You guys don't poop and shit over there, do you?
Okay, this ain't TMZ, man.
Yeah, we gotta go have fun. Oh yeah.
Oh man,
interesting.
That's too much. Yeah. You know, well, you just held something for me, man, that really kind of just pokes at me a little bit. I've watched guys. You know, I am a very observant person, and I think that sometimes when I look at a thread and I see the topic and I go, wow, that's an interesting topic. I want to see what the answer to this is. On page 2, I look down and say, well, there's 6 more pages. This could have been answered, definitely, this question. I mean, something about gain staging, say, that really could have all been handled quite quickly and elegantly in the first 20 posts, if not half that. And so I decided to click on the last page and see actually where the conversation went. And just as a entertainment, for my own personal entertainment, I decided to see where the person who started this conversation actually left off. In other words, they just went away. They said, I don't need to listen to this. I asked a question. You guys are talking about every freaking thing there is, solving all kinds of problems that I never even asked you about. And it's been, I don't know, it's just something I do for humor at times. But
I do the same thing. I do the exact same thing.
It's for me, it's kind of my education. Is I come from the I'll meet you at the donut shop or something, and we'll have a conversation. And we're going to talk about what it is you want from me in my service. And then I say, well, then how do we engage over the internet? What would be to your liking? Personally, I want to keep it simple. I mean, if we get much outside of what I'm doing now, it's starting to eat into my happy time, you know, which is I don't like to push a lot of buttons to be able to have a phone call. You know, I don't want 3 programs open and to get a camera and set my lighting and make sure I got the right shit behind me so you can, you know, I come and look at my little square and then I go move this and then I come back. I see this all the time. And then now you got the perfect view that I need you to see. So I'm representing myself in what I would call a liar's fashion. And, or maybe I'm just insecure and I want to put myself in the best possible light I can. I'm not sure, but those are questions that I would really like to know the truth to at sometimes. Because the bubble that gets that I see people display themselves in are, I mean, hell, I'll tell you right now, I've got this nice, what's his name, calls it my little Vietnam shield. because I got stud walls behind me and piles of foam and a couple bales of freaking 703 because we're under construction, and I don't really want people to see my mess because I don't know, that's where I came from. That's you know what I mean, that's my project. I'm going to talk about it when it's done, and then you guys get to see that. You know what I mean? I'm not sure. I don't trust it. You know, when we have these conversations and this kind of material gets brought up, it brings in cynicism and distrust to my mind. And I don't like to be in that place. So maybe that's why I don't have Facebook associations. You know, I'm not sure, but you know, maybe that is one of the. Yeah, I don't do Twitter and Facebook and all the other crap. There's so many people in the city of Detroit, in the metropolitan area, that I can go places and see the folks.
You mean you actually talk to people one-on-one, face-to-face?
Yeah, it's kind of cool that way, man. Yeah, it is. I like it.
What a concept.
Yeah, I mean, I absolutely love this. Don't get me wrong. I would never have met you at this level if this technology didn't exist, and I'm absolutely, I think it's fantastic. I'm all for it, you know. But the day that I actually see a really good record get made by musicians in 4 corners of the earth over the internet, it's going to be a weird day.
Well, that day's coming.
I know it is, but that's going to be a weird day when, you know, there's...
It's actually already here.
Yeah, I know it. Cubase has got it functioning. Cubase has definitely got it functioning.
I'm actually kind of excited to see that really get refined, because I think that's the one thing that will tie us back to the way it was done when I came up. You know, back in the day, that's how music was made. You know, people exchanging ideas in real time, not sending thing, you know, I do my thing and then send it to you, and you do your thing and you send it back, or you send it, you know, everybody kind of doing it in real time and everything. This is kind of the closest to getting to that, so I'm really excited as they get that more refined, because the only thing that's missing right now, and it's because of just bandwidth issues and things like that, everybody having different connections. Once things get to the point where it's a non-issue of anybody having stuttering audio, video, signals, quality, and compression is no longer an issue and everything. Doing real-time amazing stuff that sounds amazing in real time and doesn't chop up, doesn't stutter, no latency and all that. When we get that, that's going to be an amazing time for music again.
That was kind of my point, Khaliq, that when it gets to that, I mean, that will be really a cool thing, because then I could actually stay in my bubble and be everywhere at the same time too.
Yeah.
In real time, you know what I mean?
In real time, that's the key. Yeah.
Khaliq, I can't remember the year, but I just stumbled across a picture from long ago when we took part in the first, what was supposed to be multi-country internet recording session.
Right. Rocket.
And at that time, the problems that we had were the same problems that you just mentioned.
Yeah.
So you could tell everybody about it, but you just made me think of that.
Oh yeah, no, that was funny. You know, the idea was good, and they were so far ahead of their time in the thinking, and it's getting there now. But this was how long? This was at least 10 years ago, wasn't it?
Oh, it was over 10 years ago. It was over 10 years ago, because my daughter was probably about 6, and she's 25.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So you figure, I mean, it was way ahead of its time. And think about how the internet was back then. They still had modems then.
Yeah.
You know.
Put your
they still had AOL, and you've got mail.
We had a bank of people. We had probably about 5 people on computers up in the top of the stage, and then down in the bottom on the floor we had Herbie, Marcus Miller, Wawa Watson in Los Angeles, and then we had somebody else over in London. And we were supposed to be simultaneously sending files back and forth. It was supposed to be the ish, boy, and that thing crashed.
It was so bad. It
crashed so bad.
And then the thing is,
all we could do was just jam and smile.
Here's the part that was really interesting to me, Dave, because see, this is the difference with us understanding what we're trying to do as creative people and everything that the coders, the programmers didn't get. They didn't take into account that somebody they're used to being on stage in real time, tweaking their pedals, turning their knobs, making sure that they're looking just right, looking at the people that are around them, being sure that the microphone is at the right height or whatever, making sure the lighting is hitting, all that stuff, which had nothing to do with the actual platform we was trying to deliver on. All that becomes real-time distraction that takes away from anything getting accomplished. And then personalities coming in. Somebody see, hey, my boy out there, let me crack a joke. And so nobody can write that into code, but it has to be accounted for. That was the part that was the most interesting to me,
Yeah, those are the nuances that I remember them all the programmers looking very wide-eyed when they heard Wawa on the talk box. And so they were all thinking that they were going to be just transmitting MIDI information, ones and zeros back and forth, but then they were watching people real-time play. I guess it didn't help that everybody they were watching was famous, because they ended up watching more than they did adjust the program. So
yeah, right. Yeah,
but it was interesting to see. But that's those things we're talking about in the front end of the show. Those are those nuances, right? Those are those things that are particular characteristics of live performance that you can't quantify in certain spaces. You just have to be there and make that decision as an engineer or as somebody who's a sound professional dealing with your DAW or whatever. You've got to try and capture all of it. And that was such a young stage. But when you just said that a minute ago, those characteristic problems that you just listed were the same problems we had that long ago. So it lets you know that we've come a long way, but we really haven't come a long way.
Yeah.
Memory is increased, data speed is increased, all these things, but we still have some real-time, psychoacoustic events that happen that are untrackable at this point, and we need to really just to get a hold of that. If we could do that and capture some of those real-time without latency,
I love this.
It would be really great,
And I love what what Neil was saying, and we just have to just not get caught in going down rabbit holes of stuff, because it's becoming such a waste of time. It's not important anyway, We let technology and all these new things that keep coming up. At the bottom line, it's like I gotta take control and get my time back, because somebody else has kidnapped it. Somebody else is taking me down somewhere, and I'm willingly going too. That's the problem. It's just like when they tell little kids, stranger danger and all that. We just willingly get into the car and everything right now.
Hey, I was going to ask Neil something. Neil, how is the mixing site going that you were doing, the mix critique stuff?
Oh yeah. Well, it's Andrew's site really. I'm just he added me as one of the mods really. So but yeah, it's picking up well. I mean, I did in now and again, and it's looking good. I mean, the Facebook group is really doing well. Like over 1,000 people in there now, and the forum site thing is on the pickup. So that's good. I think. One thing, I was talking to Andrew about, and I said to him, I think again, back to bubbles, I guess, but, a lot of people are Facebook users and quite prolific, and maybe trying to get people to migrate to different platforms is often a bit of a challenge in itself, and the Facebook group thing is fantastic because it's so easily accessible, but I really have a problem with the way that really good information falls off the front page so quickly, and it's lost forever unless you deeply search. And the best thing about forums and user groups and things like that is that the post always stays quite relevant in it's not difficult to drill down a few and find stuff, and so that's the best thing about those kind of forum driven places. But getting people out of the Facebook thing and into the forum, I think, is going to be a challenge. But I think it's the best kind of thing for say, the mixed critique kind of thing, because you can have your own little almost like subforum, little subject area. If you create a thread, that thread is all about your original post, and it stays there. And it's got a good amount of longevity there. So you can throw up the revisions of mixes, and you can and people can use that as a guide, as a story, and hear how something's developed. Whereas if it's on a forum, on a Facebook group, it's gone almost within a day, which is really quite upsetting, if you know what I mean.
Yeah, I was just wondering how the participation was going. Were you finding people were being very friendly, and the critiques, were they becoming very helpful? And
I think what I've seen so far is quite surprising, actually. When you go back to what I was having frustrations with, what I was talking about earlier, this group seems, I mean, it's early days, and I think that kind of good people thing, it dies down for a while when the idiots start getting in, if you know what I mean. But I think right now it's surprisingly great natured. It really is. There's people that really are helping each other. They're really honest, not in a bad way. They're constructive with the criticisms. It seems to be working really well, and I think because people are staying on point and staying on subject, it helps, when people go off on a weird tangent, that's when it starts getting messed up, or when people just are not in the mind of being serious about what they're talking about. So because it's early days, maybe it's really quite healthy. I'm very impressed, actually.
Oh, that's good. I saw it too. It looks good.
Yeah. I mean, you guys get in there, join in. You've got a lot of experience in being able to just listen to something and give people some good feedback. So get involved, definitely.
I have a question for you, Neil.
Yeah,
and
sure.
This is really something that I've wanted to ask several folks that run sites. I mean, something as big as like Pro Tools Expert, right? That you have up there.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, you guys do. It's fantastic. I'm familiar with your PCs, and
Cool.
I'm a
Thanks.
PC user.
I need to change that that title thing on the screen. Actually, I've just realised it's got Pro Tools Expert on there. I actually left Pro Tools Expert 2 months ago, but that's another story. But carry on.
Okay.
I'll tell you about that later. Go on, carry on.
Okay, there are looking at. Not too long ago, our studio was completely flooded with poop water and destroyed.
Wow.
And through this rebuild process, there's been a tremendous amount of decision making in terms of how much of the analog gear is coming back. Of course, some of that's based on how much debt I want to incur. At this age in my life, everything was paid for before. I don't know if I want that much debt now. Going fully digital, incorporating other internet sales that I see to happen. That's very common. Mixed tutorials, you name it, whatever tutorial. It could be anything. Blogging, offering some type of media that has nothing to do with songs, but may be relevant to media creation. And the question that keeps surfacing to me is, I like mixing records. I like recording people making music, and that's why I opened a studio to begin with. And I found a lot of I had a lot of growth as a human being in helping disabled people pick up a guitar again, or get enough courage to sing a song on hours that we weren't booked. And when I look, I know I'm kind of I'm trying to give you a little bit of background as well as ask this question. I'm having a real hard time with the concept of, all right, I'm going to open doors to a new studio, and all the digital content that I'm being asked to consider. In other words, I've talked to some consultants because I don't know anything about the digital medium. In other words, creating an online business. Okay, let's taking that as an avenue of supplementing income, so I can pay for things at a much faster rate. I mean, and there are some very proven, well worth investigating procedural and tactic-driven things that a guy can purchase and implement. And that's all fine and dandy, but when does it become no longer someone who owns a studio who's recording people making music to someone who is moderating a freaking forum site and building advertisement products and doing every fucking thing there is to do regarding media other than recording people making music and mixing songs and running a studio?
Yeah.
In other words, now, when does it become all you do is talk about it? And you don't do it anymore because you don't have enough time in the day.
I hear you. I really do. And, that's one of the reasons, I said I'd left Pro Tools Expert. That's one of the reasons why I've done that, because it becomes a bit all-consuming of you, and you do get yourself in that situation where you're not actually any longer doing the thing that you set out to do in the first place. That's one of the dangerous paths that you go down. Khaliq will be a good one to talk about this, when I've said him a bit, but because again, he's doing the same kind of thing. I joined a group that a business as such, and the business belongs to somebody else, and I was a contributor, but it was becoming a point where it was consuming me more than, and I wasn't actually getting what I set out to do in the first place done, because I spent all my time doing stuff for other people. And like you're saying about what the methods you go about to get yourself online, and the business kind of tools and things that you have to go through to get the business up and running online. It's almost like when you if you were to decide, and many people are, you may even be yourself, if you decide to be self-employed and you run your studio as your own business, okay, so you'll know very well about the fact that you either have to employ the services of somebody like an accountant, or you have to do it yourself, and you have to make that decision. Because you need to do your accounts every month or every year, whatever, and it needs to be done properly. There's no way you can do that wrong, because it'll bite you back, and so it's those things about, I guess what I'm sort of trying to say is that how much do you do yourself, and how much do you put it out there and subcontract it to other people? A lot of the time there are other people that do the kind of thing that you're seeking as a full-time job. That's their living. And knowing when to subcontract it out and perhaps pay a small fee to have somebody else do it, or when to do it yourself, is careful decision-making time. Because if you're going to, say, for example, you're opening your studio, you're going to need a website, you're going to need social media activity. So do you employ a web developer to make your website? Do you battle doing it yourself, perhaps learning from scratch how to build a website? Do you do all the social media yourself? Think about, okay, to be a good social media guy, and Bill can talk about this far better than I can, but to be good at social media, you've got to be posting engagement posts where you say something and try and provoke other people to say something back, because that then has an effect where those people that have posted back, their friends see that they've posted on that site because of the way that the streams work, and then their friends join in, and all of a sudden you become very popular. Now, do you have to go through all the trouble of learning all that crazy stuff, or do you want to run a studio? And so all those little multifaceted things you need to break down into segments where you either try and get somebody on board to do it. And you can, as a studio, you can trade stuff, you can trade studio time for somebody to build your site, so that you don't actually have to pass money back and forth. Right. But there are so many little things like that before you even get to doing your studio bit. And that is perhaps one of the most daunting things going, because you cannot get started sometimes. There's so much to do that you cannot even get started to sort of create the online presence. And it's kind of driven me slightly nuts, in the sense that I have kind of had to step way back from all that kind of thing, because I was one of the, say for the Pro Tools Expert point of view, I was one of the people, I was a contributor, I was part of a team, and it wasn't my site, I was just one of the team. but it didn't belong to me. And so basically I was being subcontracted to help the guy who owned the site. I was doing some of his work. And so I sort of felt to the point where I've got so much of my own stuff to do. I can't be somebody else's tool as such. And so, there was a statement about, I think, I'm sort of badly paraphrasing, but, something along the lines of go about making your dream or your business happen, because if you don't, somebody else will have you help them with theirs. So but yeah, I totally understand, and it's a really tough thing, and I think Khaliq will be able to tell you from the kind of get up and running kind of internet business wise. Bill will be able to talk about social media stuff. I've been just kind of caught in the middle, and it's I guess you heard the phrase, jack of all trades, master of none. I found myself doing so many little things but not being great at any one, and I've totally neglected my own stuff. Like, you see my studio behind me, it's a building site. I'm halfway through building my studio. I've been in here a year and I'm still building it because I've spent so much time doing stuff for other people. So
all I know is I see an Andromeda and a JD800 back there, so you can't be half bad.
Oh no, yeah, this is like 10 years of acquisitions,
yeah, man, you got some nice pieces there, man.
Yeah, there's the wall of wow there as well. There's there's more, but yeah, no, this is my studio is my my studio is my kind of my reward to myself. I've spent the last 10 years kind of doing stuff and accumulating stuff, and yeah, now it's time for me really. But I don't know whether I've gone any way to answering your question at all. But
no, you haven't really, but you sort of have. Okay, give me a second, Bill.
Good.
No, you have in a way, but I suppose I'm asking a question that really almost can't be answered because it's a personal decision. When do you draw that line?
Yeah.
I mean, I've operated without a website for 11 years now and have not had. Our first creation station that we bought from Sweetwater was only off for 6 weeks the first 4 years that we were open. Now, I didn't get paid for that whole time. A lot of it was given away.
Hey, Joseph, let me ask you something. Because I understand what you're saying. In particular, the market you serve, where you want to make your studio available to people who are challenged. Is that right? Like, primarily you deal with.
I'd do it for rock stars or anyone. It'd be great, but I find it just a personal thing on my side.
Right.
Just as a personal
Bill, we can't hear you
thing
too good either. If you can get closer to your mic.
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me now?
We can hear you, but it's real roomy sounding.
Okay, thanks.
You just muted it.
So Joseph, you primarily service, and I'm just trying to get you closer to an answer for your particular thing, because there's some things that you can do that will help you get to some areas. What ends up happening, and this happens to all of us, when we say, hey, I'm going to do this, I'm going to have a studio, you end up, you will be available to a lot of people. Now, if you want to focus on servicing a particular group, learn some of the things about the characteristic of that group or what is available to assist them in doing what they do. I know that there are grants, subsidies, and other things that are available to people who are physically challenged, mentally challenged, all that, that offset the cost of them for whatever they want to do.
Yes.
And so if you're going to specifically make your services available to this community, it probably behoove you to go down to the State Board of Equalization or the local city hall and go to special services and find out what programs that they have in place to assist special services in arts. Okay? And what you will find is that there are probably some programs to which you qualify. One of the things is probably going to be you're going to have a ramp. You're going to have to do certain things in order to allow them to access your facility. But the bottom line is that if you're going to pick this as a group you're going to serve, do some research onto how to service them and then what is available to get paid. It's no different. I mean, I had a business years ago, and I used to want to hire people who I knew who may have been disabled, but I knew them personally, and they were good people. So I investigated and found out that there was a program where, in particular, the government paid about 70% of their salary if you employed someone who had a physical handicap, right? So if I had never looked, would never have found a way to subsidize employing somebody who I wanted to employ, who I knew was good, but who just happened to fall into this category.
Right.
So the same way that you could do that, you can find out what programs are available for them when they want to study the arts, if they want to come directly to you, or not even study, if they want to record themselves, or do anything that is promoting their well-being, anything like that, you have to kind of do the legwork to figure that out. And then what ends up happening is that what you set up as a business actually ends up working as a business because you have a community that you want to serve and you have found a way to get some remuneration from it. You know, and these are all just parts of being an independent business person, that when you say I'm going to hang my shingle here and I'm going to do this, and you got to do that research. That's that other work that we talk about all the time. There's some other work that goes to it. You know, if we all wanted to open up studios and just service people who want to write songs, we could do that all day long, but we would all be meeting in a bar and be broke in a couple of years because we had no strategic format to get to people who want to do songs that have money to pay for extracurricular activity.
Right on.
So you have to be specific about what you ask for in your quest to set up whatever you want to set up, even if you've got the most altruistic motives. You've got to be realistic in how you set it up so that you can get not only return on the investment, so you can just break even. You know, for what you're choosing to serve, you've got a hell of a tax write-off once you start engaging with people, because part of what you're doing is written off as service. Okay? Yeah. And it's actually written off as community service, because you're actually going to a disenfranchised group in most communities, and you are allowing them access or giving them some access to some things that most of the time they're not. So you got to look, you know, the legalese of most cities has, you know, all these categories we fall under, and I hate to be that, you know, I'll go here, but again, and I hate to always point out the business aspect of it, but we have to look at that, because that's what we're talking about doing. We're all independents, and we're talking about surviving on a creative dollar. Any of us who are over 50, you know, we're looking at another aspect of it, where the ideas that we have that we act on, we want to see them flourish. So at the very least, they must break even.
You know, and that's
at the very least, they must break even.
There you go. See, I'm 52 years old today.
Yeah.
I'm not 40.
Oh, happy birthday, man! Happy birthday.
Well, thank you.
Yeah.
You know, when I decided to open, my house was paid for. This is 12 years ago. My house was paid. I had a beautiful piece of property. I worked my ass off. I've been self-employed most of my life. I mean, so that's nothing new. But I guess the risk wasn't nearly as great. Now that I'm 380,000+ in the hole from this sewage collapse, and it looks like restitution will be zero on that. Absolutely zero.
You're kidding. Wow.
No, I am not kidding. I should backstep. I had other insurances for pieces of equipment that were very expensive, and instruments that were very expensive that were covered under a different policy, that it didn't matter how they were damaged.
Okay.
But the property, everything, the real property, not the chattel, but the bolted down tables, desks, all the stuff in the building that was contaminated had to be thrown away. And because that poop came from outside of the property line of my structure, it wasn't covered under my insurance unless I would have gotten a rider that said if somebody else's poop gets into my building, in other words, I was covered if my sewer broke. I wasn't covered if the city sewers broke.
Wow.
That's foul.
Oh,
You
man.
got it.
That's some ouch.
Well, you need to call Ace Ventura Poop Detective or something and have him do a DNA sample or something, man. Because
You know what, man?
some of my poop's in there somewhere.
Joseph, that's a story. This is a movie. This is a movie.
Brother,
This is a movie,
I have a fly-on, the biggest fly-on you can get suitcase. Right? It's got a handle with wheels and shit. And I sat on that thing till you take it to the last deposition I went to get it to close. That's how much paperwork this has generated.
Wow.
And it's not done completely because we still are taking it to the state level to try to appeal a case that was already shot down. And the odds of overturning a local decision are, from what I'm told, next to nothing. Because the state judge, the appellate, doesn't want to step on the local jurisdiction, and they just want to wash their hands of it. In the meantime,
man, you never knew how valuable your shit was.
Yeah.
Right?
When you think about what you have in your place, right from a guitar pick to a rack bolt to a piece of cable, and for me, it's like I said, it's only been an actual 11 years that I've been in business in this industry. You accumulate. I'm looking at Neil's place there. Take every single thing out of that room and put it in a 40-yard dumpster, and try not to just shoot yourself while someone's doing it. And then you're going to go, okay, I'm going to open up a studio. Right? Now I have the opportunity to not make nearly as many mistakes, but I also have the opportunity to make a bunch of new ones that didn't exist for me 11 years ago. And I guess that's what prompted me to ask the question to Neil is because I'm a little bit familiar with Neil's internet background. I know nothing about his real life or what I would consider, sitting down and having a drink with him. But, when did it become all of a sudden, hey, wait a minute, I'm in this audio world to tell people about audio, or am I in the audio world to actually function as an audio, as a mixer, as a sound capturing artist, recording engineer, whatever? When did you make that decision?
You can't exist in this audio world without doing both, though, truthfully, Joseph.
Yeah, we'll have a website this time.
You can't exist in this world of doing audio without creating relationships where somebody inevitably will ask your opinion, and you give them the benefit of your expertise. So I think that it's about being a 360-degree audio professional. There's no rules that say, oh, you can only do this, you can only do this. Right. Inevitably, as the longer you do it, the more some people will ask you your opinion, because that request for your opinion comes based upon your business acumen and how you project yourself onto the professional marketplace.
Fantastic. Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
If you give people the feeling of confidence and assuredness, they're going to want to know a little bit more about something. They're going to be less scared to let you know that they don't know. They're going to ask you questions because they feel like they're comfortable enough for you to answer. And at that point, you become a opinionated audio professional, and you're no longer just recording and mixing somebody, right? and there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. You wanna instill confidence in your clientele. You want to instill community in what you do. I think for all of us, it's an area that we come to where we've done something long enough. The first couple times we get people who just want to call and talk to us and ask us our opinion, we're kind of shocked. I know for me early on, I was shocked the first time somebody said they wanted to pay to talk to me. Right? They didn't want me to fix nothing. They just wanted to pay to sit and talk to me. Right. I didn't even know what to charge them. Right? So it's
no less than $50 an
territory. It comes with the territory, and I think that as you go into this next thing, don't feel like you have to repeat the same steps. And maybe what happened in the long run, and this is something that you'll see years from now, you might not have needed half the things that got flooded out to be proficient at being Joseph in audio.
Absolutely right.
Okay, so don't set yourself up to say, man, how do I do that again? Don't climb the mountain the same way again, man. Don't even climb that mountain. Go find another one to climb. You already climbed that one. You know, do some new shit, man. I do it all the time, man. I purge on purpose. I get rid of stuff as a challenge to get better because I'm going like, I shouldn't need this. I should just go back to the basic things of what I need: a multimeter, a sound pressure level meter, and a means for A to D. And I'm not going to sit up here and try and win by bringing out all this trick shit. I need to be able to use my head. The older I get, I need to be able to recall my gray matter quicker. So I do things consciously to push myself to do my memory, because I know as I get older, what's going to go? My memory, right? So I need to start working out that muscle, right? And
that's the
when we're younger, we have a tendency to want to lean on the gear, the this, the that, and there's nothing wrong with having gear, and I love gear. You know, I mean, I look at Neil's rack there, man. I'm having jonesing, man. So, but you know, all those pieces are classic pieces that, you know, if you were gonna out here in the days of making records, if you was gonna do something, you needed one of those pieces that he's got behind him right there, because that was like the Cadillac piece that only had the sounds that it had, and so Khaliq and I are both there. We both have pined away for these hardware objects. We both have spent a lot on these objects. But at a certain point, we also realized, you know what? We're not going to do that much work like that anymore. We need to transition our work habits. We need to transition our tool set and go to something that's more effective and space saving and time saving, cost saving. I love having options, but if I can't use them or I got to pull them out of the garage every time I want to fire them up, they're really of no use to me. It's just a memory. You know, and so I've got to make these decisions, and everybody's different. Some people hang on to it, but lately I've been just trying to challenge myself to get better. But for you, I would say, Joseph, try. You're meant to come at it another way. Less is more. You're engaged with a bunch of people who have a bunch of information. Don't feel that you necessarily have to make this big hardware commitment to be a consummate professional.
Hey, Joseph.
Yes,
one
sir.
of the things I wanted to say to you too is, based on your original question, what you were asking about, you know, how much do you need to do on these certain things, and it really depends on what your goal is. You know, if your goal is, I want to be a studio owner and open it up to the public and have people come in and work, and then I make my money trading my studio hours for dollars. If you want to do that, that's fine and everything, but that's a whole different question as far as how you set up, because you just need your physical presence set up and then let people know that, hey, I exist, and then it breaks down into the marketing. You know, like you guys know, like even though I haven't been an engineer for the last since 2008 pretty much now, I've been making the bulk of my money through online, through what I've learned via marketing. And when I do mixing and stuff like now, I do mixing based on my experience and expertise, as opposed to me being like when I first was mixing in the record label call and things like that, and I had to spend hours and days on end mixing a record and going back and forth between the. I don't even do that now. It's not the client that I want. I let people send me such and such and say, hey, Khaliq, can you touch this up and make this better based on your experience? That's all they want, and I get actually more money doing it that way than I did when I was slaving for hours on end. I think that's where your value is. You got a lot of experience, and you've got a niche audience from your experience where you can target people that are more like you and what you know will appreciate what you know. Open that up and make it more exclusive, and then your messaging as far as things like Facebook and all that stuff, and or any other kind of things, you just use that for research. You know, Facebook has their insights where you can go in and find all kinds of demographics. Facebook has more information than anybody to be able to find out specifically who your target market is. I do it every month to see what's going on. I know exactly who my customers are. When you guys see me, the reason why I do these hangouts and everything, I don't make money from these hangouts or anything like this, but I make a shitload of money from people that know about what they've seen me do with in being on these hangouts, they say, okay, that guy seems to know what he's talking about, and I'm looking for something. You have that same thing. You've got a lot of knowledge. Everything that you say when you're doing these hangouts with it, that's why I'm glad you come on here, because people can see you and say, hey, that guy has something. All you need really is to be able to mention a place for them to go. People go find Dave, and Dave gets other engagements and everything from doing stuff like this, and you know, that's a very different business model rather than saying, okay, I'm resetting up my studio and get it all together, and then how do I get people to know? Well, really, the more valuable thing is you and what you've learned from having all the things you've had, all the things you've been through. Market yourself that way, and just put a basic presence that they can get to and find you. You know, a basic website that lists what you do, and then you demonstrate and show people that I am your solution. You become their only trusted advisor. You know,
You are hitting the nail on the head right now. All of you guys combined have so far pretty much hit the nail on the head, because that's really the crossroads I'm at. I'm not sure I have it in me to climb the mountain again.
right?
That first 4 years took a toll on my relationship with my wife, and I had to choose then. I had to back down a little bit, and I did, and thank goodness it was well worth it. It was a good choice.
Absolutely.
I
I
much
mean,
rather.
Yeah.
I hear where you're coming from, and I much rather take that lesser mountainside.
Yeah.
I don't know how
It
else to
actually
say
ends
it.
up being a bigger mountain for you in the long run. Like right now, you know, I choose who I want to work with. I choose how many hours I want to work. I know what I need to have my financial needs met, and I haven't missed anything. I'm okay. You know, I'm learning to go to the next level too, because the other thing is if you do the same thing you've been doing, and all that, you'll probably get similar results, which is nothing wrong with that. But if you want to think about, okay, I'm going to the next level, then you got to think about the other people that you got to surround yourself with, the other a new way to present what you do. Like I said, I no longer believe in trading hours for dollars. To me, that's because there's a ceiling there, and I can't get beyond that. So you know, that is a whole different model for me. I don't go to somebody and I work and have to explain what I do. When they come to me, they're pre-sold on me. They pre-sold. I tell them, okay, and here's the parameters, because this ain't gonna be an open-ended thing. I do something for you, I'm gonna give you 2 revisions, because you know what I do. You send me, here's what I need. If you don't meet that, I ain't getting in and doing a bunch of edits. I ain't getting in and cleaning up and going through, and I ain't going back and forth. This is what it is. Send me the money, and send me, most of the time it's send me at least half, never less than half. Sometimes it's the whole thing in front before I even start, you know. And that's such a much better thing. Of when I was a younger engineer, I'd be working on projects for months and everything, then turn in my invoice at the end, and then have to chase people down to get paid after I've done the work and they got to deliver it. So then they try to devalue what I did. I ain't going through that no more, you know.
Yeah, and it keeps happening. You know, the thing is, it's as an independent, if we just had a call that was just independence and chasing your money, right? That would
there you go.
We didn't talk about audio compression enough. We just talk about clients and getting your money. It would be a full call, okay? Because the thing is, it never ends. And what you find is, as you move up, down, and sideways on the ladder of work, you will see all different forms of the dance to try and pay you as little as they can pay you for what it is that you do. You'll see the dance to try and wait as long as they have to pay in order to pay you for what you do. I wish it wasn't like this, but this is also one of the things of being an independent business person that you have to deal with. You have to be able to withstand the negative side of that occurrence. So, you know, like I said, and Khaliq said it right, that sometimes it's not the big mountain that you think it's going to be. I think we've all hit this place, Joseph, and I would just ask you to look at how short a time you've been involved in this. Even though for you, a flood, a shit flood, literally, has dramatically impacted your life, right? Most people theoretically have a shitstorm. You literally had a shitstorm. Okay, so I think that don't let that discourage you, but understand that you've been doing this still relatively a short period of time for you to have the clarity and the foresight to say, okay, cool, I'm lining up for something again. I don't know what it is, but I know I don't want to do that. You've got some definite things you've discovered, and like I said, the ability to have the conversation and say, this is a concern to me, is also clarity, right? This is a lot of these conversations people don't get to have amongst others independents. They have these conversations on their own because they're scared to tell people what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
You know, how many people want to say, hey man, my whole place got flooded with shit, I'm out of business. Yeah, I don't know anybody who's ever said that. You know what I mean?
7 years worth
but
of freaking data hostage.
It's real. It's real. It's real. And the fact that you're comfortable enough to say it, and it's like, cool, let's move from it. But now you're going to hear from all of us, and that's all of us, not just Khaliq and myself, but Neil, everybody across the water. You're going to hear everybody's version of, here's what it takes to be an independent and withstand all the things that will come against you to try and take away your desire to do what it is you do. Because that's what it is. And you laid some valuable things on the line. Yeah, you don't want to jeopardize your relationship. So if your relationship is key, then you know what? Look at what you're left with and rebuild now that you have centered around, okay, my relationship is key. I see the areas in which this thing had jeopardized that. Let me rebuild the next thing so that that's a non-issue, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, and
So
hey,
you got clarity, man.
You got to really, you also, man, got to really make sure that you develop. You got to sit down and develop. You know what a USP is?
I'm sorry, you beeped out.
Do you know what a USP is?
U.S. Post Office?
No. Okay, so
What are you talking about?
yeah, not USPO, USP. Okay, so this is one of the things that, and it's very important. It seems so simple, but this will take you doing some research on yourself. Sit down and interview yourself. USP stands for unique selling proposition.
Gotcha.
And this is what makes you unique out here. What has been your whole success principles out here? There's a guy named Jack Canfield that wrote a book called The Success Principles. In fact, I got it right here. This guy, Jack Canfield, has a book called The Success Principles, and it maps out. Jack Canfield, if you don't know who he is, he's one of the co-writers of Chicken Soup for the Soul, the most, the biggest book of all time besides the Bible. People never even thought that people could sell that many books. But he bases a lot of what he does in life and business on certain success principles. These are, they carry along with all the people that really have these massive breakthroughs in life. You find out that there's commonalities and everything. And what you have to do is sit down actually with a pad and a pen or pencil or something like that, and find out and list what makes me unique. What have other people told me is unique about what I do? What was I really proud of when I did it and that gave somebody else a breakthrough? That's that is really key. Because like for myself, what I found was my unique thing that everybody told me, because when I first started training people and learning how to do things online, it wasn't that many, but there was a few folks out there, But now there's a whole flood of people, but people still come to me right now. The difference is they say, well, Khaliq, even though there's a bunch of stuff out there, there's something about the way you explain things that now I get it, even though I may have even heard it before. Think about even the way you found me through PreSonus, seeing me do a presentation and things like that, There's a lot of people out there, but what I found my unique selling thing is that I just got a different little weird way that works for me, and it kind of clicks with people. And you sit down and map that out for you, and then decide who is the target audience for what that delivers the solution. Everybody has a problem out there that they're actively searching for. There are people searching for you right now at this moment for what you do and what you have, and you just have to present what the solution is for them. The problem already exists, so you don't have to find a problem to fill. So this is a very important concept that I've learned over the course of time that's is serving me more and more. And I'll tell you, there's nothing more boggling in my mind when I see somebody, you know, because I think we all feel proud that, you know, all of us, I would say safely say, you know, we're six-figure earners. Making six figures is okay. You know, I don't know if anybody on here is a millionaire or anything. I know I haven't reached the $1 million level yet, but I've been in and out of multi six figures many times, and being in that area, you can lead a definite comfortable life. But what boggles my mind is when you get in a room with somebody that making 500 million or heading towards $1 billion, they're making like millions per day and stuff like that. It's mind-boggling. And then to hear the conversations they have, the way they think, but then also to realize that the problems that they have are the same problems I got. It's just a bigger level, but it's actually the exact same problems that I got. You know, there's the same worries, and they're trying to solve it and figure it out. It's just on a bigger, scaled-up version. You know, but you want to get around those kind of people, and you want to position yourself and your business to say, I want to be one of those folks, because even though I see the problems never go away, you know, I want to be in that level, because at least I can be a little less stressed when it gets a little, you know, in there.
And you know what, as well, right now, Joseph, you're probably in a it might not look like it, but you're in a really lucky position where starting again can be very fulfilling, in the sense that you don't bring a load of baggage with you. Like baggage can be old gear, for example. Right now, you're in a lucky position where it's never been easier to start in this kind of industry without any gear. You can do everything in a computer, literally. If you're going to record a band, for example, you know, okay, you need some method of getting the music into your system. But you know, sorry guys, is this drumming in the background annoying? Is it too loud?
It's okay. It's okay.
Okay, cool. Sorry, I've got a drummer in the live room next door. But yeah, you're in a position now where, okay, you can get yourself some really good, reasonably priced preamps, an audio interface, some really good cheap mics, and get your recording into the box. Once you're in the box, you don't ever need to leave it. And there's so much free software out there, and I mean like good quality free stuff. Doesn't need to be pirated. It doesn't need to be, you know, any of that. You know, there's so much free stuff that is very, very good that you can start out. And the thing is as well, keep your sites within a manageable realm. So you don't need to aspire to having, I don't know, a Pro Tools HDX system or something. You don't need that to get started. You know, you can do a darn good mix on a 10-year-old computer, you know, with you know, a used eBay audio interface. And you know, so don't get caught up in gear acquisition syndrome. You know, all this stuff you see around me, this is 15 years of accumulation. This is also nothing to do with my day job. These are my toys. I've bought all this gear through rewarding myself over 15 years. You know, my day job, I'm a broadcast engineer. It has nothing to do with actual production. I'm not a mix engineer. This is all my hobby, and I just so happen I live professional audio. I live it, and that's why I'm, you know, immersed in it. I can't escape it. I just happen to do it 24/7. I can't get away from it. But you know, don't get caught up in the gear. The gear is almost secondary. Have the vision, and like Khaliq said, work out what it is exactly you want to do, and then ring fence it and keep it contained, so that you're not going off on a wild tangent of thinking you've got to go and buy a load of gear. Even doing your website and things like that, there's really clever ways of getting around it. I forgot to mention before, there's a website called Fiverr, Fiverr, 2 R's on the end, and that is like a site you can go to, and you can say what it is you need doing. I need a website, I need a logo, I need a whatever, and you pitch it, and then people all over the world that are signed up to this site, they'll bid for your business, and they'll say, you know, like, yeah, exactly, I can do it for $5, I can do it for $4, I can do it for $3.50. You go with whoever you feel, you know, confident can do the job, but it's all within really good financial realm. So don't, that's my kind of bit of advice, is don't let it get carried away. You know, keep it reined in and focused on what it is exactly you want to do, and you won't be far wrong. And along with the USP that Khaliq mentioned, you know, that you can keep it local for a while, you know, just work within your own town. You don't need to try and take over the world in your first year of getting back on your feet. And it'll slowly grow, and you'll just find that, you know, things are rolling without you even need to think about it.
Yeah, and hey, Joseph, the other thing that and that's great points that Neil mentioned too, because you need proof of concept for whatever it is you're trying to do. So do it small and do it local. You know, start doing research, and like you said, even though you don't do Facebook, you need to go on Facebook and find out and do search for some people that have recording studios, not just in Facebook or Google as well, recording studios in Detroit, you know, and even more specifically near your zip code or anything like that. You can break it down, start seeing what's going on with it. Look at, type in the forums that may be related to what you're trying to do, and then see what kind of questions are going. And one of the things that I saw with you that I think you can dig in further is that because you have more experience, you know, and I've heard what you do, so you do good quality things. I think a good thing to target people with locally in your area are other musicians, you know, baby boomer type musicians that are trying to reignite their career. They maybe have done life like we all have done and never had the big breakthrough, but they still love music like we all have. You know, you can do, it's just like when you were having the conversations and talking about all the pedals that you had and everything, and then some of these younger guys, you know, guys start, wow, you got that, and things like that, and so, oh yeah, well, these people are still out there. They'll get excited, and a lot of people want to reignite their dream, recreate some of their vision and everything, and do their music. You can do that with just a good I/O to get the signal in and out of your computer, like Neil was saying. That's all you basically need, but use that as a proof of concept to start seeing who's interested, and then further hone it down. And then I've got a lot of other ninja tricks that I can pass on to you that can help you really dig out. You know, there's literally thousands and tens of thousands and millions of people that could be right under your nose if you know how to look the right things. But start small, start locally, and do some basic proof of concepts to get it going. You know, you got it.
One of your home runs, Joseph, and I don't know if you remember, but one of your home runs that you have is your ability to take your background in robotics, right? And analogize some of the things that we were trying to understand in a couple of conversations we had. And you had the ability to lay something out so clearly just through explaining to us how robotics works, and then you laid it over some audio stuff. And I think you have to look at what you did previous, because it's very relevant to how you can use those same communication tools. The biggest thing people pay for when they're paying for your services is you, right?
Okay.
And so it's all of you. So the robotics part of you in all those years is very valuable to the audio part of you, because it's a tremendous communication tool. It teaches you how to methodically deal with mechanical life.
That's a great point too, because it's not about the gear. It's not the gear. People, it's about you, man.
It's about you. So you know enough about machines, Joseph. I would almost challenge you to be better at knowing who Joseph is and getting the most money out of Joseph, rather than going to a machine, because machines is easy for you.
Yeah.
You spent your whole life learning how to massage machines into working correctly. So don't go for the easy thing and then go, oh man, I don't want to climb the mountain again. No, man, don't. Go make it, get the most out of you. You know, get the most out of you, and you'll find that you will make more money with less hardware, because you have now gotten into getting the most out of you. You know, I really think that that's the undeveloped territory in your case. You know, regardless if it's Detroit, Chicago, wherever you might find yourself. Bottom line is that wherever you're gonna find yourself, there's only one you. So the minute you harness that, it's gonna be all right. And there's a bunch of people who want an experience And like Khaliq was saying, check the local schools, because all the schools that are around there have a digital media arts department, and they all have students of every kind, including students who are disabled at times. So, and they all want to take those classes. So some of them, if you make something available to help a certain group, again, there are programs and stuff to do that. So you've got the structure just waiting for you. I think really what it is you just got to define the template that you're going to work on. And it might scare you because it's not a machine. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe because if it was a machine, you'd run right towards it because you look like you could tackle it, right?
Yeah, I'll build it.
It's you, man. Look in the mirror. It's you. You're who you got to figure out. You know.
Yeah, that really is that is the truth, man. It's, do I want to put together, 6,000 feet of cable and a bunch of I/O, and or do I just want to get a MacBook Pro and a freaking FireWire interface and use some
there's so many
unison technology and not even deal with any of that other shit.
It's not even about the gear anymore. The thing is that your home run too is once you decide what's unique about you and what you can bring to the market, then you just got to find the people, like I said, that are already looking for what you do out there. So there's a lot of people, the people who may have, say, even some type of disability, or veterans and people like that. Did they stop being musicians or loving to be creative just because that what thing happened or whatever? They're all out there, but maybe a lot of times they want to do it, but nobody's reached out to them to give an opportunity to continue that. That could be a whole new niche thing for yourself. And you say, I get it. I understand where you're at right now, so I can help you do this, and I have experience,
Yeah, meet them halfway. Go to where they all congregate and tell them who you are and talk to them about what they want to do, because a lot of times it's not going to be about you being so fantastic on the internet that everybody's going to come running through your door, and maybe that's part of the flood principle. Maybe what you learn in the flood principle is maybe if I make part of myself portable, I can go out to where my captive audience is and engage them there. Maybe my private space is for me to do my service work and complete it. Maybe my real mission is to go out here and meet them where they're at. That's part of what characterizes a person who's handicapped. They can't get everything.
Yeah, we were saying earlier about the bubble thing we were saying about earlier, local musicians that might be in their little bubble about just being musicians, that hadn't even crossed their mind that some guy might show up one day with a recording rig and record their show in the bar or something. That kind of thing. Put yourself out there.
You guys but at the same time, don't get caught up in hours for dollars. Now, at this stage, since you're going to another thing,
want to do that.
It's like Dave and I, for over the course of years, have owned recording studios, amazing gear, surrounded by things, and then getting pinned down in this room with all this stuff with people, some crazy and some delightful, but the whole, it's like, do you really want to go there again? Right now I don't have to go through any of that because it was a conscious decision. I'm not going through it. I'm not going below a certain level. I'd rather, and it's the same amount of work too. And so in fact, find one or two people that are your ideal client that are willing to pay you a premium price to get what you do without pinning you into hours. You're going to offer them a result. I'm going to come to you after I leave. You are going to be able to, bam, you got this result, or I'm going to leave you with. So it's not tied into, well, you didn't work enough hours, or I didn't see you, I don't think you sweat enough and all that. It ain't even tied.
No, you know what? It's kind of coming out right now exactly where I want to go. I don't want to trade my time for dollars.
Sometimes it just takes a conversation with some people to help you realize, it's crazy, but
I try to have this conversation with my wife, but and I do, but she doesn't understand some of the things that you guys do. She doesn't get where we're at.
You can't. Your spouse deals with another whole aspect of this, and that aspect is when she looks at the. This is just one aspect of it. When she looks at the overall, what do you got, what you doing down there, and how much is this gear worth? She's looking at an overall amount of money spent, and she don't see the value in a piece of gear. She sees the value in time spent or memories or these other things, and so you have to understand that there's a unmet need is always waiting in the bushes outside your house. Right?
There you go.
When you leave the house, unmet need is just waiting to jump on your ass.
Yeah.
Unmet need comes in the form of bills and comes in the form of emotions and time spent. So unless you are living in a cave, you need to figure out, along with what you're going to do and finding yourself, if you have a partner, you got to figure out what's the unmet need and how am I meeting it. Then that way, when you go to do what you do, find yourself and do that. When you come back, you indeed will have a partner who's there, and then everything will be peaceful and copacetic. But if you leave and you got some unmet need multiplies.
Hey guys, so Khaliq said I could jump in. Is that okay?
Yeah.
You jump right in, babe.
So I just curious, you know, obviously I'm not totally into what you guys are talking about, but you mentioned handicap. I can't get out of my studio and network anymore like I used to. Like I believe I met Dave at a Grammy event once. I haven't really been able to do things like that. And so it seems like y'all are talking about, you know, developing connections and industry and so forth. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, basically.
So help me out here. This is going to be a little more direct than I like to be, but I can't get out there anymore. This is the best I can do, you know, is hang out with you guys. And, you know, I don't have the situation where I work at a studio where, you know, people see what I do every day. But from what you all tell me and from what the results of my work are, and I'm exponentially increasing not only the feel. This is not bragging. This is just what people tell me and what I'm seeing, and the speed in which they achieve their artistry before tracking. So my big goal is how to get all of you guys. Is one of the reasons I'm here. You know, just take the clothing right off. Is to maybe get some information on you all and how I can better serve you, how I can get to you without you feeling like you're being solicited or that I'm wasting your time, or, you know, not talking about you directly because you already know me, but just, you know, people in the industry, the more successful they are, and just like I was telling, let me pull up his name here real quick so I can, Neil, that he was becoming like a star because we only have so much time for people. You know, no matter how nice we want to be. And so I have to figure out how to communicate with you all that there's a value here. It does save money. It does increase record sales without making you feel like I'm just another guy who's trying to take advantage of your time. So anyway, anyone want to chime in? That's my current frustration.
I got a question. When you say I can't get out anymore, is it can't or won't?
No. My back will not let me sit.
Oh, you have physical debility.
Yeah, that's why I said when you guys said handicapped. You remember when we were talking about going down Orange County?
Yeah. Gotcha. We were speaking about Joseph because Joseph has is servicing some of the handicapped community, and so that's what we were speaking about there. But to your thing, now that you explained that, because you have something that limits your scope of operation. And
right.
You figured out a way to maximize what you're doing. You know, I think that's part of why these calls go the way they do, is because, you know, just every time we go deeper with, you know, this is about the deepest we've been with Joseph, but we've been through a couple of levels of deep with Joseph, right? And that's everybody. You know, we all take turns, and it's part of just getting to know people and getting to know, again, this is unmet need in another area, because as sooner or later somebody's going to need vocal stuff. Somebody's going to need that expertise that you focus on. And I think that's part of it. Part of it is just being ready and being available. You know, it's not, and you can't feel bad about specializing in something nor making yourself available. There's nothing wrong. You know, nobody's up here thinking that, oh, he's just chilling for time. You know, no, you're here on the calls and everybody's doing what they do. Nobody's skill set crosses over. Everybody's got something that will help someone else. So I don't really feel any fear or any trepidation or anything. I just you know, I think it's, you know, Khaliq set this up so that everybody can have a tactical advantage. You know, and that's kind of how I look at it. You know,
Yeah.
that's why I don't limit what I talk about. I don't limit what I say. I try and be truthful with you guys and try and be bare bones honest, because that's what he wants.
Yep.
Cool.
Absolutely. And hey, Brad, I think doing just what you're doing right now is because you said, how do you get out there and everything, you know, because you're physically limited. But this platform, and we were talking about it earlier, this time is great now, and eventually it'll get to the time where real-time music will have less impediments than it has now. No latency and everything. All the little constraints that are happening now will be gone. We see it coming. So you just showing up here, showing up regularly, and people seeing your face and contributing value. You know, this is what me and Bill talk about this all the time, you know, because when you see some people's behavior in the different forums and groups and things like this, some people just want to garner attention to try to show how clever they think that they are, and they want people to, you know, like you say, you know, me and Dave talked earlier about some people being in the thing, well, they aren't on my level type mentality and all that. Forget all that stuff. Just show up and try to deliver value, you know, deliver value and help, and then that's what's going to get you out there more than anything, wider than anything that you could do. You know, it's almost better when you're at these things, because physically getting out and everything constrains you to just a certain area of people, probably areas that and folks that you're comfortable with already, so they already know you. This exposes you a much wider, broader net. You're doing exactly the right things. We're cool because we don't feel like you're coming in trying to just do self-promotion and things like that. You're coming in and always being valuable. You're right on the right path, man, and you may not see it individually. All I'd say is when you leave off of here, can people find you? You know, when they see you, there's going to be some people that say, I like that guy. Let me see what that is, because if they don't necessarily know what is doing vocal pre-production and things like that, well, they might not know. They don't know what they don't know, so they might not know that they actually need your services and your help, because they are not sure about how it's, you know, relates to what they're trying to do and where they're trying to go. So make sure your presence, once you leave off of things like this and everything else, is strong enough to let people know that when they land and find something about you, it's like, oh, okay, he's my solution. I didn't even think about that I needed that, but now that I see what he's talking about and see what he does, I need that, you know. You make sure that's in place for you on the web, a web page, website, you know, all that, yeah. And then refine it according to what, you know, your audience will tell you. Like you said, some of the things what people have told you already, they'll tell you that, and you just keep reflecting and building on top of that on your web presence, you know.
Okay, cool. So what about if I was to contact you, like I contacted you outside of a Google Hangout? I found you. I knew how to contact you. I knew your Facebook. I knew your email or whatever. Is there a comfortable way to contact you without it being an intrusion?
You talking about me specifically, or you talking?
No, everybody. You know, that's, you know, because managers can use me, producers can use me.
Well, see, what you have to do that I think is a very valuable thing that I learned from marketing is like reverse your thinking, because it's not about they can use me. It's like, how can I help them? Everybody has a mentality of what's in it for them, you know. So think about, for the things that you do and everything, when somebody lands on it, right away they're thinking in terms of not that I need you. You want them to shift from need to want, because, you know, we need food to live and everything. You know, we need food to live. We need air to breathe and everything, and we need that. But the bottom line is the want is the bigger thing of what you want. You know, you might need to get from point A to point B, but you want to have a Ferrari to get there in the fastest time just because you want it. You know, so you're not thinking about the needs. It's like, how do I want to get there? You know, so you got to think in terms of how they want to get there for whatever it is that you deliver, and how they're going to be finding you. You know, and after you do these hangouts, after you do all that stuff, you should immediately say, every day I have people signing up onto my email list, you know, and Dave will tell you I backed down tremendously. I used to actively market to build my list and everything and all that, but I don't even do that right now anymore because I got kind of burnt out on some of the other things. But it takes on its own autopilot thing where people are coming onto your list and everything, and it just starts growing up by, you know, it started out with a few people a day, then it turns into dozens, and then, you know, starts turning into hundreds and thousands, and before you know it, you've got a bunch of people on your list because they're just searching you out because you have been delivering value to them and thinking about when they land on it, they're looking for help, and you're the life preserver that they've been looking for. They will find you. It'll be easy. And then David, like, I didn't even realize this, but early on in my career and Dave's career and all of us is we became the guys that were, call Khaliq. He knows this, or he probably knows that, such and such. You know, so I used to get all these random phone calls because somebody was saying out there, call Khaliq. You know, you want to be that guy. You know, that's how Dave is now. Dave gets all these phone calls randomly because it's like, call Dave Hampton. He probably knows, or he can do this, or he can find or get you with. So you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I think just to add to what Khaliq was saying there, and pretty much what he said, but your question, how can I get contact with people? Don't think about how you can contact people. Think about how you can get people contacting you.
Yes.
Which is basically what I was saying. And the best way is like what you're doing now, and like what Khaliq does, and the other guys as well. Sell yourself in a way that, don't go chasing people, because people these days find that quite offensive, you know, approaching people and saying, hey, I'm this guy, I can do this for you. It's kind of because you don't know what they're looking for, and you turning up on their doorstep is a bit like turning up on their doorstep, and you know they just close the door. So I think for you, thinking, you know, I don't know an awful lot about you, but you know, so I'm kind of, you know, making some guesses here and there, but I think what you could do probably really well is do some videos and demonstrations of what you can do, and if you're a vocal coach, you know, get somebody in and almost video a session of what you're doing, but break it up into chunks of like, okay, here I'm going to show them how to do this, and then you do it and you show them, and you know, just a little bit of a taster of what you can do, and use that as your show reel, as your marketing tool, and then get out here, you know, socializing like we do, and I've seen you around anyway, so you're already doing that, but you know, getting active and socializing, and then people will see your name, and you've done the right thing by putting your strap line up there, that, you know, having the vocal bit, people can jump and know, okay, that's what he does, and it's by some kind of crazy osmosis of being on the web, people will come to you. I think if you go about it the other way around, which is perhaps the way that things used to happen, people these days find that slightly offensive, I think.
You'll get some major pushback because it's a different world now.
And then it turns people off.
It really does. You know. And plus, they can find pretty much anything out here now. So the question that is going to be effective for you to ask for the people that you want to get to you is ask yourself this question: well, why vocal pre-production? Mm-hmm. You know,
right.
That's what they don't know. They don't know what they don't know, but you do. So ask yourself that question, and then you need to answer it and demonstrate it, because most people won't even think about that question. You know, they won't think that I need vocal. They don't wake up in the middle of the night. I think I need vocal pre-production today. You know, they don't think like that. You know, so but you got to think and show them and start demonstrating little things about, you know, you're getting ready to go to the studio, and even what we've known from experience of seeing people go in there unprepared, burning through a lot of money, especially when it's somebody else's studio. But forget about even just a studio or money. Time is money. You know, time is currency. So, you know, you may go through a bunch of things. If you don't have your vocal pre-production, you're burning your time. You never get hours back. You know, we're always getting older. We're never getting younger. We're dying right now. From the moment we're born, we're dying.
Did you read that article by Jeff Blasker on Music Connection magazine about that?
No, I didn't.
Yeah, he did a beautiful job. He's hot right now, you know, with the artists that are being successful, Lana Del Rey, things like that. And he spent a fair amount of time basically, in effect, saying that if I'm going to have to spend 2 or 3 records to get you to the point that I can market you, I'm not going to do it. Forget it. If you don't come to me in a package that I feel like I can market you within the first or second record, it's just not going to happen. And that's what I do. That's exactly what I do. So I read these and I think, okay, great. Now, how can Jeff Basker find me? You know.
So Brad, one of the things you have to do is to a old saying called "chase them till they catch you." Okay?
Okay.
You have to make them think they thought of the idea. In other words, you have to figure out how to engage the conversation, and at the same time you are talking about it, you're educating them, even if it's only in 3 sentences. You're educating us in the importance and the time-saving capability of having someone like you interact in their life before they hit someone like him. Okay? You have to look at the whole exchange that goes on between the person who's trying to get recorded and the great producer who's trying to record them. And that's where your money is. If I were to put it bluntly, that's the valley where your money sparkles, right? So you need to go right there and figure out all the different raps that you need to do in order to not only talk to the producer, but talk to the up-and-coming artists, because you got to get artists to a level of honesty where they'll admit they need help. You got to get producers to a level of competency where they understand the time-saving move that it means, right?
Yeah.
And
So
the investment that both of those parties make is where you thrive.
Right. And so it's I think basically what you're saying is it's a blogger told me this. Just basically I'm becoming an industry standard of where to get information from on these particular subjects.
I wouldn't even call it industry standard. I think that before you can go to the industry, like Khaliq said, proof of concept.
Right. Exactly.
So eat the elephant one bite at a time. Take the thing and try and basically take a situation and amplify it to this level. Deal with an artist who needs assistance getting from here. Deal with a producer who needs better things out of an artist. Find yourself the situations that really fit who you are. Don't just look at it from the one end of the spectrum. How can I get to here? Identify where here is and make sure here is actually someplace you want to be.
Yeah. Well, I know.
And Brad,
a lot of people want to get a lot of places.
Brad, let me say one thing too. Be very careful about this, because it's not about information. You throw that out, you know, because people are drowning in information now. You know, there's a blog, there's a video on every single subject under the sun right now, and quite frankly, people are just overwhelmed and they don't need more information. The thing that will make you stand out, like for example, the guy you mentioned that did the article and Music Connection, he's already successful, correct? He's already so he's not necessarily, because he's already successful, he may not necessarily be looking for what you need in vocal pre-production, because he's already produced stuff and whatever that has been successful. But what he does need, where you get in and be able to demonstrate, not just for him but for others, is you can make his life easier by prepping the people so that he doesn't have to do it. You know,
right.
So that's how you get in and demonstrate to him. So it's not about I'm going to go in and show them this thing that's going to be a magic thing. I'm going to make your life easier. This is why you need me, because if you let me come in and do what I do, it's going to free you up to do do all these other things that you need to do. That's going to be a more compelling thing to people like him that have the money to pay you for it. So it's not even about convincing the artist. You need the people that have the money.
Yeah, that's what I'm looking for, because the artists just aren't having the money. I get a lot of
they don't.
Yeah, and remember this. Remember what Khaliq just said about the information game, because there are people right now on this call taking notes, and you will see the very things that we talk about come up 2 days from now as gospel on somebody else's thing.
Yeah,
I'm not laughing, no, Brad. I'm serious.
I'm laughing.
This is how proliferate. This is how amplified our industry is, with people who don't want to do the work, and B, feel that it's okay to basically take what we're saying, paraphrase it, and put it under their heading and sell it as their doctrine or their dogma. The difference is that we're all giving you shared information from practical experience, so it's proven.
Right.
And so when they regurgitate it and it's under there, it's great, but when they put their name on it, it diffuses the effectiveness of it, because most of the time they don't have a reference. If it goes any deeper, they can't get you out of a hole.
Yeah,
okay.
So don't worry about it, because they ain't you, brother. They ain't you. That's the thing.
Oh, right. No, I don't worry about
That's why Dave Pensado don't worry about anything. He tells everybody everything, and bottom line is ain't nobody. They still ain't him. So you ain't gonna get the same results.
Right.
I hear people do stuff like within art thing and all that, myself included. I got my thing. I ain't Dave Pensado. I can try to copy exactly what he does, and I've got years into where I understand it, and I still can't do what he does. And I ain't worried about that, because the thing is that we've all got to the place now where we realize is that it ain't about that anyway. It ain't about the information. Yeah. Everybody got the information, can get it. Your unique thing, the way you do what you do is very unique. It saves time. So your messaging is what you got to get clear to a guy like that can afford to pay you. You get your messaging clear to that person to say that, okay, I will make your life easier. Here's how. And then that frees you up to go get more money so you can call me in again for the next thing and all that. That's how it keeps coming.
And for you, Brad, I would also say you need to pay attention to the marketplace and plug yourself in at a level where you can access the most singers, most concentration of singers. So even if you can't get out and do everything because of your back or whatever's going on, you can creatively figure out a way to participate in things like ASCAP I Write Songs and some of these other things that come around where you have large gatherings of people who are vocalists who need to get to the next level. Because if what you have is relevant, you need to figure out how to communicate to them that you're available and that it is a service, because that's part of understanding the marketplace too, is knowing where the barrel with the fish is to shoot. If you gave me a fish in a barrel, I would shoot fish in a barrel.
I guess that's the only question I have left. And I appreciate so much all this information. The only closer I can think of is that isn't quite clear in my mind is, again, and I think in a way you explained it, but maybe I'm just being a little impatient. How does people like Jay-Z, Jeff Basker, whatever, how is it that they find me? I can't go to them, so how is it?
You put yourself out there. You put
I've been doing that.
Where they can't miss you, really. But I mean, big oak trees grow from small acorns. It's like
it's the impatience factor. Thank you.
It's a spider web thing, It gets there in the end, but you need to put yourself out there in the right places, and then of course you ask where are the right places. But as Dave said, you need to get into the kind of groups where the worst thing about the Pensado students group where a lot of us hang out is that we are all guys doing the same thing, and you see some people in there sometimes that are trying to market themselves to each other, and it's like you are trying to sell. That's the worst thing you can do. So put yourself in a group, like a social group or something, of vocalists, because you will stand out, because you are not per se a vocalist. You are something that can help them, and you might be the only vocal coach in that group, and you might have pick of the lot to to choose. So you kind of need to think about the environment where you're going to market yourself, and you don't have to give anyone the hard sell.
No.
That you can start in a very subtle way by offering a little bit of free advice here and there, and don't be afraid of giving away all your secrets, because like Khaliq said, you know, you are you, and it doesn't matter. You can tell everybody all your secrets and they still won't be able to do it.
No,
You know,
exactly.
so
I'm gonna buy Bill's Beats. He just told me.
Yeah, yeah, like people coming on there. Hey, buy my stuff. Or hey, I just released a new video.
Brad, also, don't make an assumption that Jay-Z necessarily needs somebody like you. Jay-Z probably has people that work with him in the downline that probably have more expertise that may need to focus on having an available relationship like that. I would spend more time in learning the food chain. And again, the way you learn the food chain is by going to some of these conferences, or at least scanning the internet to find out who's who in everybody's camp. Looking at the credits, go to IMDb, look at the credits of who's working with these artists that are signed to these other people, and find out those names. And those are the people that you want to get to, because those are the people that are in the studio working with them. Okay, so when you see somebody like a Jay-Z is busy doing several things at a high level. He does represent a monetary touchdown should you get that close. But I think that you need to never assume that it is what you think from the outset. Assume that there's several levels of operatives that do stuff. I know for me and Khaliq, and when we get involved at different camps at different levels, there's even though we might get called from the principal, there are several levels of people that we work with and through in order to achieve what it is they need from us. We might never even see them until the curtain. Okay?
Right.
But the bottom line is that we figure out who we got to interface with, and how we need to interface, and what the language of success is from the initial conversation. We don't worry about, well, when am I going to see Jay? When am I going to, well, you know, you might never see him. You might never, some people I've worked with, people I've never met, or I've only met once. You know,
I work with
it's all different. All different. So really never assume that things are what they appear, because most of the time they're not. In entertainment, most of the time there's a very in-place machine that does the real work that happens, that we all interface on a service level.
Right. I worked with Quincy Jones on a project, but I didn't meet him. I met Tom Baylor.
Right.
Tom Baylor was the guy who interfaced with me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, hey, Brad. Here's another thing too that is very important to remember, because just from what you said and everything about getting Jay-Z to notice you, how do you get to him and people like that? I think you need to flip and reverse the way you're thinking about that, because see, when I look back about, like, for what I know for myself, what I know from watching Dave and various other people and all that, even before this internet thing happened and all this, the way we got indoors, the way we got on projects and everything is just by simply being helpful. People find you. I was not supposed to be on We Are the World originally. I was not scheduled on there. I was probably the least experienced engineer there. But I was requested after a while, because as the project started taking on and it started, I was just requested, because they had been watching me give help. You know, my mindset was, well, I know I ain't on this, but if I can help in any way, and then when they're trying to do something and somebody's struggling, I'm in there, bam. If I see something needed to be done, I'm there, bam. Wasn't even on it. Then finally a formal request is can you put Khaliq on this project? We need him on here, you know, because he's easing the burden that we have, you know. It's my whole mindset not about how can I get on this project. I wasn't, you know, I wanted to be on it. My heart was broken when my name wasn't on the original list, but it ended up happening because my spirit was to just deliver value and help. You know, I was not the original engineer called to work with Michael Jackson or anything like that. Even when I ended up working with Teddy Riley has trained some of the best engineers that are out here at the biggest level and everything. He didn't have to think about Khaliq at all But Teddy Riley requested me to follow him and continue on with him just because it was more in my spirit. It wasn't because I'm a great engineer or anything like that. I mean, I was competent to do my job, of course, but I think more importantly is that I was just very, very helpful in my mindset that made his life easier. I was there, Johnny on the spot. My mindset was just, how can I give value to this guy? I got this legend in here walking in with me. I want to make whatever he needs to get done just as valuable and invisible as I could be without him having to deal with it, providing him, hey, did you know about this and everything? We bat stuff back and forth about technology. So don't worry about Jay-Z looking at you. Jay-Z and all these folks will find you, and people at that level and everything, if you are the value guy, because it'll be the same thing like was happening with me and Dave before all this technology was getting. Call Khaliq, call Dave, or whatever. That's what it is. It'll be call Brad, and because
and by the way,
out there.
Any information you guys want, especially as helpful as you are to me, any information you want, any situation you run into with a vocalist or whatever, you just call me and I will give you quick information as I can to get you in or out of that situation quickly.
Appreciate it. Yeah, that's always the best thing. The stuff you've been doing with my art has been great because you've been demonstrating what you do, you know. So demonstrating and helping people.
And said, hey, you know, give me a call, man.
Yeah. One thing I want to add, you know, and Khaliq's being humble, but you know, one of the things I saw when he was working with Teddy, and I worked with Teddy years earlier, is that he was able to transitionalize his role with people in that gig because it was one where he was checks and balances because of his ability to not only know engineering but to know technology and current technology and the trends and what was really happening. His cylinders were firing on all these levels that they could literally work on music, listen to it, understand what it was going to sound like after the mix, make decisions. It was a very long process that was cut in half by his presence. But he does, you know, and in me, I was an observer. So I'm looking at it as in I know the role that I've always seen him in. And when I saw him in that role, it was totally different. So my hat was off to him because I'm like, man, we're able to transitionalize your career and go to a different place, monetize yourself, but go to a different place, and you're totally comfortable in that role. You know, totally comfortable in a role not behind the console. You know, and years earlier in 2005, when I had first called him to Minneapolis, he was a little hesitant on, I'm going like, I don't need you for this. I don't need you for this. I need you for this. You know, and so it was like, wow, he sees these are the other sides to seeing what you have to offer. So I say that to say that a lot of times, Brad, don't always look for your touchdown to always be the vocal stuff directly. Your touchdown in the situation might be just the insurance that you provide for either a producer who is not aware of what is needed, or a singer who's not aware of what's needed, or a producer and a singer who are trying to get to a place and both of them don't know what's needed. You understand what I'm saying?
Oh, absolutely, man.
Yeah, and so sometimes it's the wisdom that you provide, and what you end up being is insurance of another kind.
Now, I have some empathy for Khaliq. You know, when lead singer of REO Speedwagon called me, you know, that, I mean, you got, he's a 67, 68 celebrity, right? I was like 7. Yeah, Kevin Cronin. I was like 17 years old. and so he calls me to help him with his voice. It was a feeling, man, you know, saying, okay, Kevin, you know, we're going to do this, you know, but you know, it's so hard to get out of that godlike imagery that you're dealing with, you know. And it's a great experience, and it does take time to work it out.
Yeah. Well, the main thing too, man, is it's never about what we know. It's about who we are. You know. Yeah. So I mean, like I said, everybody out here has choices. You know. So the main thing is you gotta, for what you do, why vocal pre-production. And don't just stay on the surface of it, because it's beyond the surface. It's not because it'll save them money or save them time. That's the surface stuff. But there's other things that go on there. Vocal pre-production is a thing about when people get in front of the mic. The mic itself is intimidating. People freeze up. They get red light fever and things like that. That's all part of it too, not just the singing of the notes. Some people sing the notes and then they get into thinking it's about being a vocalist. Let me see and show how good a singer I am. And so they never connect to the lyrics. They didn't know the two. They thought being a singer is about singing notes. So because I can sing a note exactly and copy exactly the run that Whitney Houston did, I'm as good as Whitney Houston. It's like, no, because Whitney Houston did those exact same notes, but she connected it with the lyrics in a whole nother way that's intangible. So that's what you got to make people think as far as why vocal pre-production. That's your secret sauce that I show you how to tie those things together in a step-by-step manner.
It's great. Thank you so much, Khaliq, and everyone.
Yeah. Hey, what's up, Ma? I see you there, man. What's going on? Kicking back in the corner. What's going on, man? Unmute yourself.
Hey, bruh. Well, first, you guys haven't met Kenzie, so this is Kenzie Rose.
Hey, Kenzie. Yeah.
Yeah, Kenzie.
How old are you again? 14?
14.
I remember sort of. I'll get it right. She's one of the projects I'm taking on. The stuff Brad is teaching me, got to put it in action. So,
yeah, Kenzie's one of my favorite clients now.
Cool.
I'm actually paying Brad. This is my focus. Is this vocal stuff with the singers is where I'm at now. Dre's mixing.
Yeah.
Call me in when you run into trouble. Other than that, I'm all about this stuff. We're writing lyrics. I have a writing lyrics. What's the song you were just going over? Brad Paisley.
Oh, Whiskey Lullaby.
She's typing out the lyrics to Whiskey Lullaby, and we're going through Al Green. You type out the lyrics, sing it the way that you think, and then go look at the song. She didn't know, you don't know who Al Green is? Great. Let's type out these lyrics, sing them how you think, and then let's go listen to what Al Green did with it. And we're doing that type of stuff. But I'm getting her to, basically connect with the lyrics and see, just the stuff Brad is teaching us.
No, Mott's doing a great job. He's not only taking the techniques to heart, but it's the principles that he understands so well, and he comes up with ideas that I don't have the time to implement, and so it's kind of cool to say, well, he got that principle, and he took that hour and a half that I wouldn't have had, put it into action and saw incredible results. He's doing great.
Cool. Say hello to me. Is it me?
Hey, guys.
Say hello. Don't be a stranger. Go ahead.
Hey. Hey, guys.
I'm about to get off, Neil.
Yeah. Great talking.
Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
Great
Yeah,
talking
great talking to you all again, as usual. You're all great, and I'll catch up with you again sometime soon. But really good talking to you all. And
I appreciate you. We're about to wrap it up in a second anyway. I just happened to see Ma get on there, and we haven't seen him in a little while, so I wanted to talk.
Me either. Mart, long time no see, man.
Yeah.
You too, bro.
Yeah, I'll catch up with you soon. Yeah, it's like 1 a.m. here, so I better get out of here. But good speaking to you all.
And love all the keyboards, bringing back memories. MIDI.
Yeah. Take care.
All right, take care, buddy. Catch you later.
Bye later.
We'll wrap it up in a second, guys. So go ahead and you guys talk for a minute, and then we're gonna go ahead and close this out. Yep. Your name is Mackenzie. Is that what it was?
Yeah.
Well, tell us a little bit about yourself and what are you trying to do and where are you trying to go? Where do you see yourself?
Well, right now I'm getting mentored by Matt, and I have my teacher Brad. My goal is to learn to emotionally connect to a song because I struggle with that so much. Because I've had a really strange life, and I've cut myself off to connecting to songs. Like sometimes I'll have moments where I really listen to the lyrics and just picture a moment in my life that reminds me of that song, and I try to put myself in that position where the song is supposed to be coming from, and then I'll cry or I'll be happy. It depends on how the song sounds and how the rhythm is.
Yep. That really is the secret sauce of it all. And I'm sure Brad and Mott and all them been showing you. But I'll throw in my own little thing too, because like what he was saying about, there's a lot of younger artists coming up trying to learn how to get in the game, and they don't understand the value of learning what came before, learning how the people that became superstars and legends, how they became that way without having all this stuff that's in place now. They didn't have no social media then, so basically it had to spread from city to city to city, person to person to person, from show to show to show, and that takes a special kind of way of connecting what you do. And so like when you talk about checking out your lyrics and things like that, checking out some of these other lyrics and connecting with them, that is the key, that is the secret sauce. Somebody, everybody, you know, I'm sure you still, even though he's long gone, I'm sure you're still familiar with Michael Jackson, you know, the long things go. But there was a thing that Michael Jackson did that a lot of people, this kid was so good when he was just a kid, because you got to remember, he made a hit song singing about a rat. Yeah. Now, if that ain't connecting with the lyrics in a way that can connect with people, he sang about a rat and made people cry because he got into what it was, an emotional thing. And it's like, you know, I don't like rats, but I like that song, you know, and a whole lot of people around the world. How good is that? You want to know, because it ain't even about what that song was about or whatever. He could have been, you know, you hear this, people have a phrase that somebody's so good that they can sing the phone book. And that is so true, that if somebody really knows how to connect with what they're doing and everything, they can literally open up a phone book. Well, phone books don't really exist now, but you can go to Google and sing down the page on Google and make it sound like it. Man, that sounds like a hit. So when you can connect with what you're doing in those two and get beyond just the notes of being a singer, you've got the world at your feet then. This is what some of the few special people like he did, and Whitney Houston and Mariah Carey and Christina Aguilera and some, you know, just any of the greats. That's what that little magic thing that they have. And this is what people like Brad and what Mott's trying to help you to learn, and various people that are out there. This is what they're trying to get people to get to. That's the whole key to it. That's all I'm gonna say, you know.
I'm on my journey too, bro. It's I'm learning like crazy as I do this stuff, and just, you know, all kinds of revelations happening. Hey, Bill. Who's all here? Hey, Dave. Hey, Joseph.
Bill, Dave, Joseph, and all this. Yeah, a few people have been on here and dropped off. We're actually about to wrap it up. We've been on here since 2, so, you know, but I saw you on there. I ain't seen you in a little bit, so I said, let me get you on there. Oh, by the way, I sent, you know, Dre and them, you know, they did your boy Michael's thing, and so I asked them to send me what they did, and I said I'll just tweak it a little bit and just to see what I could do from my point of view to enhance it. So I sent him a little something yesterday. Didn't do really much. I just tweaked it a little bit. Didn't do anything to the vocals other than just pop them up, no effects and everything. I think the production could probably expand, but I know you guys are kind of in the space where you're just kind of doing it step by step and getting the things to go. But it may prompt ideas for you guys. You know, just wanted to let you know.
Yeah. And Michael's he's pretty good at paying, and he's getting whatever he's paying for. Like if he wants more done, it's no problem. He says the word, and he throws the money out, and that's why I was wanting to introduce him to you guys. I'm like, hold on now, here's a dude who might be interested in this too. Yeah,
well, this is one of those things, and it's a lesson for you guys. Like I said, I'm authentic. This is who I am. You know, I just saw him and felt his passion, felt that he was real, and I was like, listen, send me something. I want to see what I can do to help you. Now, I ain't getting in and turn it into a big job, so I just did a little bit to what I can do to help. You know, right now, I mean, if we turn it into a job, then we're going to dress it as business. It's not like that now, but that's who I am authentically. I just want to help somebody that I see he's serious. I could tell that he was different than a lot of people, and I was like, okay, this is a guy that's worth, you know, I don't feel like I'm wasting my time with it, with all you guys. So Dre, I know, is in the thing, so I'm like, okay, let me tweak it up a little bit so that you can maybe hear, and then if you want to dig back in, you can kind of see more approaches to take it from, you know. So this is what it's about.
You know what's cool, Khaliq? His process, he will write, he will come in, pay to record a scratch, take that home and listen, come back, record it again, take that home and listen, come back and record for the final.
Mm-hmm. Good.
Every song he's doing like that.
He's got what it takes. I can see that. I really think he's got the spirit of what it takes to make it through. So, you know, helping him through and everything, get through it. He stumbled on to the right people and you guys to help him through it. And you introduced him to me. Like I said, I'm doing what I can to help. You know, if we do business later on at some point, that's fine and everything. But I think he has something that potentially it could potentially be something special, you know.
And with her, we were, you know, going to write. It's like I don't want to write her songs. Like I don't want to get into the girl mind frame with some, you know, put my my long hair on and start writing for her.
Put on heels.
Oh yeah, okay.
Yeah.
So, but I started talking to her, and the moment I saw an emotional reaction in the conversation about what she was telling me about herself, I said, okay, that's the song we're going to work on. And she started writing it, and then she got with Brad and started singing it, and she started crying. I was like, wow, this is kind of easy. Because I'm wanting that emotional connection. And normally I'm sitting here, no, I need you to connect with this and here paint the picture. I didn't have to do none of that. It was just there. So that whole process of having her come from her own thing and her own, you know, finding something that she's emotionally connected to already. Like I said, when she sang for Brad in the, I think was it this last session? Yeah. She sang for Brad in the last session. There, I didn't have to sit and say, okay, I need you to connect. And she started crying every time. I'm like, are you all right? Like,
getting into it. Yeah, that's good. Good for you. That is the key. Good
and then
for you.
Brad told her, now it's making us, the audience, feel it, making sure that we feel it.
Well, I look forward to hearing what you guys are doing and everything, man. So yeah, just keep me in the loop, you know. Yeah. Well, hey guys, I'm gonna wrap it up here. You know,
okay. Can you guys just want to say hi to Desiree real quick? She's my next client.
Hello, Desiree.
Hey, what's up? Hey, how you doing, Desiree?
We're going to be jamming here on her voice, and might as well take advantage instead of just running off to let you meet her.
Very good, dude. Do a quick lick, Desiree. Let's hear you. Oh, gotta be ready. Gotta be ready. This is how we do it.
Just saying, here. Just do this real quick. Put your headphones on. She's gonna go over to her mic, so you won't be able to see her. But she'll put her headphones on, and we've been working on. She's an interesting singer that you guys would probably run into occasionally, where a singer comes in, they have no full voice. Mm-hmm. There's just no bottom end in the sound, and so it's kind of hard to commercialize that. And she had that, so we've been working very, very aggressively on her full voice. Mm-hmm. And so we've been working very, very low keys, and to try to help emphasize that. So right now, you know, we've been working on just a little thing from the Rose, because that song only has an octave in it, if you've ever paid attention to it. So every time she learns one verse, she's learned all of them.
Let's hear a quick little verse of what she's
I'm just gonna have her sing just that little part. Desiree, you say, "Some say love," freaking her out.
You're wigging me out, guys.
Now stay down low in your chest voice.
All right. Some say love, it is a river that drowns.
Whoops. Your piano went on you. Anyway, she can sing it a cappella. I don't play the piano.
Hey, you know they used to have an old song called "Don't Kill the Piano Player."
I know. Did you know that had to do with the liquor?
Oh yeah, right. Yeah, right.
Prohibition. Yeah, don't shoot me. I'm just a pianist. In the bar. Anyways, thanks for taking time to meet her, and
cool.
Please keep these up, Khaliq. I've missed you guys.
Absolutely, yeah. You know, I go in and out, but I always miss you guys too. So when it gets crazy for me schedule-wise, I make sure I'm like, I got to get back and do the Hangouts with everybody. So I'm going to wrap this up for today because we've been on it pretty long, but I didn't mind going longer today because I haven't seen you guys in a while. Missed y'all. So come on back. We'll be here. We should be here. We're doing it Sundays now. I found twice a week was a little bit overwhelming for me for keeping my business stuff in balance. So Sundays, 2 p.m. Pacific time, which is 5 p.m. Eastern time, and anything in between. You guys put that on the calendar. Be looking in the Facebook group for me to post the links. And if you're on my list, hopefully you get to say where we're at and coming on. Catch you guys later. I hope you have a wonderful time, and we'll see you on the next one on next Sunday.
Cheers, everybody. Peace.
Later.